Also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing bottom line. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Ranger station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time. It's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs. So I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one. Even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Rich Eisen says the Giants are completely out on Daniel Jones. Which players got franchise tagged and who didn't? Several NBA players commented on the GOAT debate after LeBron reaches 40,000 career points, and much, much more on a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. Doc Rivers is going to have Damian Lillard run very fast out of town. Does he help them win? You're under 500. Aaron Judge helps the Yankees win. You're paying the player $300 million. You better be sure that guy's going to help you get over the hump. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays. They need a therapist. Did you see Lamar Jackson cry to the referee? No, he didn't. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, for a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. My name is Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. No Sean Smith tonight. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out all our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Speedy, what's up?
Well, I think this day was chaotic for both of us, but you definitely a little more with everything you had to deal with your car today and all these other people in your life. I'm just trying to embrace everything with it, and hope the fans enjoy this show out there. And no Sean to annoy us this time and call you Jersey Shore.
I will say this. Anybody that had to go through what I had to go through today, good luck. I'm serious. I have gone through so much havoc today, not only with my car, because I had the alternator put in today. So I was running around taking care of other things, including work stuff, and get my alternator put in. And then my friends, my family, obviously everything that happened with the computers in our studio, just everything started to pour. And somehow, some way, I'm still here doing the show for the Sports Loudmouth. I don't know how I'm here. I just took a shower. It took me literally probably 5 minutes to take a shower. It's the quickest shower I've ever had. Yes, our studios are here at my house, and I'm very happy to entertain you guys for tonight. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Everything tonight is even more off the cuff. So happy to be here. As Speedy said, he's happy to be here. He's always happy to be here. I mean, how many sausages did you eat today?
0.
No sausages.
0.
Did you eat anything today?
0.
You had nothing today.
No, I had food. I didn't have any
What did you
sausages.
eat today?
I just had some peanut butter crackers.
Peanut butter crackers. That's what Speedy. We are here. It is 7 o'clock at night. I'm losing time right now. 7 o'clock at night, and Speedy only had peanut butter crackers.
That is correct.
Look at that. Fish couldn't do that. He's 6'3", probably around 220 pounds. I think he'd be starving himself. He would be starving himself. Oh, I'm sorry. 240 pounds. Am I right, Fish? I think I am. But anyways, we do have Tommy Scoops here in the studios, and we have a lot to get into tonight. And at 9 o'clock, we'll be talking to 8-year MLB first baseman and outfielder Garrett Jones will be joining us. He's been on our show before, hasn't been on for over a year. So we're very excited to get Garrett Jones on the show, especially baseball around the corner, spring training. So happy to have him on. 9:30, we'll be talking to the Game Day NFL draft analyst, our friend Michael Rochman will be joining us. We'll talk about the combine. We'll talk about the draft. We'll talk about free agency. A lot to get into. Rich Eisen says the Giants are completely out on Daniel Jones. Oh, my God. And I don't understand this because we will get into this first, but it is such an interesting story because Daniel Jones has not been healthy for the last 2 years. But who has he had to throw to? Honestly, who has he thrown to? There has been no name wide receivers after no name wide receivers here. The last wide receiver that he had, which, by the way, he never threw to really, was Odell Beckham. So, I mean, I have no idea why they're out on him. But again, they have Dable running the show over there and Joe Shane, who I think will be fired at the end of the season if he doesn't find a way to get a good draft in this year. And that's something Joe Douglas needed to do to keep his job. After adding Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, all the different guys, Johnson and Breece Hall, that draft saved Joe Douglas. So I'm interested to see what Joe Shane does this year in 2024. Which players got franchised and tagged and who didn't? We will get into that. There are quite a few players that I was very, very shocked that was not franchise tagged. One of them, Bryce Huff. I don't understand that from the New York Jets, but hey, maybe the Jets have something up their sleeve. Probably not. Several NBA players commented on the GOAT debate after LeBron reaches 40,000 career points. There is no debate. The GOAT debate? You're going to compare him to Michael Jordan? Whoever's saying that, whoever has brought the GOAT conversation up, that's in the NBA or who is not in the NBA, oh, I am going to piss on you tonight. And that's the truth. Karl-Anthony Towns out indefinitely with a meniscus tear. It's a huge loss to the Timberwolves. And thank God the Knicks didn't make that move. If he was available, that was a guy that the Knicks were very interested in. Thank God he wasn't available. But he's going to be out for at least 5 weeks, maybe 6. He's not going to get that surgery. But I'll tell you this, Ron Artest, a.k.a. Meta World Peace, did it, and he came back in 3 weeks. So I don't believe Meta is as big and as strong and built like a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns. But I will say this, Meta World Peace did it. So Phillies signed Zack Wheeler to a 3-year, $126 million extension. Exhibition boxing match, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Are we kidding here? Are we seriously kidding here? Mike Tyson wants a payday on this. Why does Mike Tyson want to fight Jake Paul? I mean, seriously. Mike Tyson, if he really actually goes in the ring and wants to fight Jake Paul, will knock him the hell out. So this is a interesting, unique story.
Yay, Netflix Sports.
Oh, my God. July 20th, man. What a sell. Let's parlay at 8:30. Definitely Wes and maybe more. So Derek will not be joining us tonight.
Doesn't seem like it.
But, hey, we have to get Derek and Wes on at the same time because everybody wants that. So we will definitely work on that in the next couple of weeks.
Except for Carl during CFL season.
Yes, Carl doesn't want to hear anything about the CFL. He has no interest on the CFL. So I'm sorry, Carl, but I'll tell you this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Worldwide Wes is like 76, 77% up right now on the CFL picks that since he's been on the show. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I mean, seriously, why wouldn't you want to bet on the CFL if you're going to win money like that? Just saying.
The only thing is he still makes fun of Derek Moore for picking the Cardinals to win the division at the start of the year.
I'm just saying. Speedy, maybe we need to get Wes to smack Derek around a little bit. How about that?
Why are you want to harm Derek for no reason?
I don't know if Wes could do that. I mean, Wes is going to have to climb Derek,
Yeah,
Derek is like 6'4".
I don't think Wes has any intent to do that anyway.
Wes is like 5'0" and you have, Derek, he's a angry green giant. No, I'm just kidding. He's not angry. Anyways, Rich Eisen said on his show that he believes the Giants are absolutely done with Daniel Jones. Eisen also believes that the Giants could be aggressive and trade up into the top 3 for a quarterback. Ooh. Louis Reddick blasted the Giants for this, defending the Jones and taking shots at Evan Neal, Darren Waller, and the Giants receivers. There is also belief that Brian Daboll was very impressed with J.J. McCarthy at the NFL Combine. The Giants also did not use their franchise tag, meaning both Saquon Barkley and Xavier McKinney will enter free agency. McKinney said he is hopeful for the Giants' return, but also tweeted starting to see life from a bird's view. I don't know what that means. Saquon said, despite wanting the Giants wanting to be a Giant for life, that he understands it's a business and football, and that loyalty means nothing. So I will say this. First of all, the Giants are absolutely wrong about the Saquon Barkley situation. Saquon Barkley is one of the best running backs in the NFL. He's explosive. He could do everything you're asking a running back to do and more. He could block. He is a prototypical Christian McCaffrey. Now, has he had the last season or two like a Christian McCaffrey? No. But he puts up those numbers. He's giving you scrimmage yards. He's catching the ball in the backfield. He's running the ball. He's doing everything you ask him to do and more. And he's really the Giants' offense. He's been the Giants' offense for the last, 4 years. He averages almost 62% of the Giants' offense and snaps. That should tell you one thing about how important Saquon Barkley is to the Giants offense. But Joe Shane and our friend Mr. Daboll don't believe that. They think they can find a running back, like Jeff says, in the draft, in the 4th, the 3rd, or even the 6th or 7th round. You don't find Saquon Barkley's growing on trees, ladies and gentlemen. And if you can, please show me the tree. I would love to go there because the Jets could use another tree that big. You sit here today and the Giants are trying to figure out where are they going to go at number 6? Do they move up to number 3? They don't need to move up to number 3 if they want J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy will be there at number 6. Do they want Jaden Daniels from LSU, the Heisman Trophy winner? Are you going to take a chance with that kid? He's another Lamar Jackson. But is he as good as Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson didn't have those weapons like Jaden Daniels had in LSU. Remember, Lamar Jackson came from Louisville. LSU has Thomas and obviously Malik Neighbors. They had weapons all over the field. They had a great running game, a good offensive line. He was set up to not fail. I'll tell you somebody that did and was set up to fail, and that was Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones. And you could see the numbers Fish just put up there. 6 games, 67.5 completion percentage, 909 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 30 sacks. 40 carries, 206 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, and had a 1-5 record before he got hurt. There's a reason why his numbers were that low. There's a reason why he hasn't put up the numbers the Giants thought he was going to put up when he took over for Eli Manning. Oh, I'm sorry, Geno Smith. The fact is, the Giants failed. They failed to build this kid, protect this kid, develop this kid. That's the problem. You bring in Evan Neal, an absolute failure. The guy doesn't even know how to play tackle. I'll be very surprised if he knows how to play guard, center. Hey, how about we put him on the bench and let him feed you some water? The guy's a better water boy than he is as an offensive tackle. It's disgraceful. But the Giants want to pin it on somebody. They want to point their fingers at somebody. So you know what they're going to do? They're going to point their fingers at Daniel Jones, even though he only played for 6 games last year. And I'm gonna give a shout out to Louis Riddick. I'm gonna give a shout out to the guy that should have been the GM for the New York Giants, not Joe Shane, Louis Riddick, who interviewed not once but twice for the job, and the Giants told him to go suck it. He is right. Evan Neal failed Daniel Jones. Darren Waller failed Daniel Jones. And what wide receiver do we want to bring up? I don't know, Sterling Shepard, who got a 3-year extension. Good job, Joe Shane. Wonderful signing. How about, who else? What else are we going to bring up? I don't know. Slayton being another one. Everybody thought was going to be a number 2. Oh, my God, he's another Odell Beckham. Meanwhile, what was he, a 4th or 5th round draft pick?
And then there's a great Wan'Dale Robinson, the 170-pound receiver they drafted in the 2nd round. Yeah, that's going to work well in this type of NFL offense. A guy that's a gadget player. And let's not forget the great Kenny Golladay.
Honestly, the Giants have failed for Daniel Jones. And if I was Daniel Jones, I wouldn't want to be here. If I was Daniel Jones, I'm going to do everything I can to put up big numbers this season and let them trade me. Let them move me. Let them drop me. I'll go somewhere else and prove myself with a real coach, with a real GM, with a team that actually will protect me and give me weapons around me. You're going to go up and try to move up in the 1st round for a quarterback? Who's your rookie quarterback going to throw to?
And again, that's the problem with, if you're going to have this idea when you came in as a GM anyway, then you should have hung on to Saquon Barkley, give him what he wanted, and then drafted your quarterback later. Like, you don't have an obvious plan for either one of them. And if Saquon Barkley you knew you wanted to get rid of, then trade him at the time that he had value for the draft after the 22 season, or even when you first came in. Like, he could have gotten paid then. You could have gotten value then. You knew you needed wide receivers. You knew you needed offensive linemen. Trade him then. Or keep Saquon Barkley, and if you knew you were going to move on from Daniel Jones, don't pay him $40 million a year, where now his contract is pretty much untradeable this season, and you're going to go draft another quarterback and throw him into these awful circumstances that the Giants are in. You have Andrew Thomas as a cornerstone piece at tackle. I like Schmitz the way he played when he was healthy. They have nothing else that is a cornerstone piece now that they're losing Saquon Barkley. They have all these random small slot wide receivers. You have an injury-prone tight end in Darren Waller who has 1 year left on his deal, and they're going to have to pay him $14 million or something like that. Hopefully he can stay healthy for more than 8 games. And that's what you're going to trust with J.J. McCarthy or Jaden Daniels if you do trade up, or any other quarterback that you might draft in even later in the draft. Say they don't draft one in the first round, maybe they draft one in the second round. You're going to throw Penix, you're going to throw Bo Nix or whoever in the fire like that too. Like that's what you're going to see instead of Daniel Jones. Like the philosophy here should have been able to go all in on one approach if you were going to do that. If you knew you didn't want Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones from the start.
If you're looking at a quarterback that could be available in the next 2 or 3 years, if you decide to draft a quarterback and let him sit behind that veteran quarterback for 2 or 3 years, because that's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to have to do if you want this kid to develop. If you look at all these successful young quarterbacks, when they come in the league, unless you're a big-time superstar, and you bring in J.J. McCarthy is not NFL ready. He is going to be NFL ready in 2 or 3 years. That means you're going to have to put a veteran quarterback in front of him that you can trust, that's going to be in front of him and be able to teach him, be able to let him understand how to read blitzes, how to read defenses. They don't have that. And I'm not saying that. I'm not throwing Daniel Jones under the bus. The reason why Daniel Jones hasn't developed the way everybody thought he was going to, it was because how many coaches has he had? How many offensive linemen have he had over the last 3 years? I mean, it's a completely different offensive line. So you're putting him in harm's way every single year, and you're going to blame your quarterback for that? I have 3 Giant fans on this show. We have Scoops, we have Speedy, and we have Fish. All 3 of you guys are Giant fans. I am a lonely Jet fan, and even though I'm a lonely Jet fan, I feel for Daniel Jones. I feel for Danny Dimes, because if this organization really, truly respected Daniel Jones, and the only reason why they gave Daniel Jones the 2-year, $40 million a year, they actually gave him 4 years, $40 a year, right. But they can opt out after the 3rd year. The only reason why they did that is because of the season he had, the numbers he put up, and thank you to Saquon Barkley, which, by the way, they gave up on too.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's the logic that you have to have if you're going to keep 2 players together, is to keep them together in the same way. And the Giants are losing this rapport with this regime in terms of keeping the coaches happy with Dable now, as 4 of them will resign from the team. And now with these players that seemingly they're not keeping. Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas are the only 2 players that they've paid so far, and Daniel Jones. But even Daniel Jones, they were kind of fishy with. They didn't give him the 5th-year option. They forced him to prove something, and then they finally catered into it. But still, that was only because of his agent, really. Remember, his agent was trying to push him to pay him $50 million a year, and obviously they weren't going to do that. But even so, like, Daniel Jones is still worthy of being a quarterback under better circumstances than what the Giants have given him. And Saquon Barkley, he's been healthy. They were healthy, luckily, in the 2022 season. And when Saquon Barkley wasn't healthy, the offense was as pitiful as anybody in the NFL. And that has to go to show with the rest of the draft picks that they have, the fact that they will not trade or draft good wide receivers, and definitely are not going to draft an offensive lineman either, when they could have had better talent in that draft for that.
And everybody's asking me, and I see what everybody's posting, why am I yelling? Because if I was a Giant fan, which I'm not, but I have a lot to say about this regime when it comes to coaching and executives there. If I was a Giant fan, I would not be happy with this. I'm sorry. And Jeff, you speak so highly of Daniel Jones. If you're sitting here today, and by the way, Daniel Jones is probably not going to be a part of this team if they bring in another quarterback. If they bring in J.J. McCarthy, more than likely, Daniel Jones is going to lose his job before the season even starts. He is not even going to start this year. He will be sitting the bench. The Giants will sit him as a $40 million player. You heard it from me, because the Giants did this the same way with a guy like Kurt Warner. They did this. They let Kurt Warner play for 5 or 6 games. And what did they do? They pulled him. They had a winning record. The Giants, I think, at the point when they pulled him, if I'm not mistaken, they were 4-2 or something like that, of some kind. I don't remember the numbers, but Kurt Warner gave the Giants a winning record. And what did they do? They decided, hey, you know what? We're going to sit him. We're going to trade him to Arizona, and we're going to start a young Eli Manning. What happened when Eli Manning started that year? It was a horrible rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. And look at the teams that have gone through all these retread quarterbacks recently, just trying to find the answer within a couple of years of each other. You joke about it all the time. With the Jets are the first team to do it, like a top 5 pick in 4 years apart with Sam Darnold and Zack Wilson. Then you saw what Arizona did. These are all bad quarterback teams. Now the Bears might do it too with Justin Fields if they get rid of him, and then drafting Caleb Williams this year. So, I mean, I'm not saying that these prospects in the NFL draft aren't good this year, because obviously I think a lot of them are. But the Giants are not a team like the Bears that have talent around them with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet and a good offensive line. They don't have the money that the Bears have. The Giants have a good amount of money, but the Giants had chances to get wide receivers in trades.
The Giants aren't any good.
Yeah.
They have nothing. If you're a Giant fan right now, honestly, if you're listening to us, wherever you're listening to us around the country on all the different platforms that we are on, okay, you're going to sit here and tell me that if you were a free agent, or even if you're coming out of the draft, you want to play for the Giants? Why would you want to play for the Giants? Even the Jets, who have been a laughing stock of an organization for the last, 40 years, 50 years as an organization, I would believe that most of these free agent players that are available this offseason would be more interested in going to play for the Jets and that crazy executive bunch of idiots than coming to the New York Giants and dealing with Dable, who, by the way, 3 or 4 coaches wanted to step away from the organization because they can't stand them, and Joe Schoen, who doesn't know how to draft, and by the way, doesn't know how to bring in free agents.
And again, you also look at the trajectory of coaches as well. If Dable is not there anymore after this year because the Giants fail again, and Joe Schoen is gone too, you're throwing a rookie quarterback into the fire with now having to learn a second scheme in 2 years. And how did that work for somebody like Baker Mayfield, who had to deal with all those different coaches? How did that work for Sam Darnold, going from Adam Gase after they had a different offense the first year? It doesn't help for their development either. Jared Goff is really the only one that got that benefit because Sean McVay was that good of a coach. There's no guarantee you're going to find that good of a coach if Dable's gone again. Dable schematically is the best coach the Giants have had since the whole Tom Coughlin ending of it.
If you're a Giant, if you were the Giants executive right now, if you were Joe Schoen, where do you go in the draft?
I would go with the receiver too. I consider offensive line. I would not go a quarterback whatsoever. I'm not a fan of McCarthy the same way a lot of other people are. If Jaden Daniels falls, maybe you take that chance. But I don't know.
So if Jaden Daniels falls to the New York Giants at 6, you draft him.
Even that might be fishy too, because the Giants
got that fishy.
Yes, that was good. But I don't even know if Jaden Daniels is a good scheme fit with the Giants offense the way it's constructed right now with Dable. Like, yeah, Josh Allen had mobility with Dable, but Josh Allen could run even before that too. That wasn't really all right. Brian Dable's designing all these great runs for him. And yeah, they did it better than for Daniel Jones than what these other coaches did, because Brian Dable's light years ahead play calling wise, but still, I just don't know if I really trust that kind of thing. I still would rather go offensive line or wide receiver. I'm hoping that Alt falls there, or Fashanu, or again, even like Malik Neighbors. I know you think Malik Neighbors is going to the Giants.
I do, but he might even be in the top 3, top 4. Some people say he might be picked over Marvin Harrison Jr. Mm-hmm. So just because of his pure talent and his speed and his ability to running routes. So I mean, and some people, even the NFL Network, rated him the highest top prospect in this year's draft, Malik Neighbors. So that says a lot about who Malik is and what type of player he is. He's a game-changing wide receiver. The Giants haven't had that since another LSU player we all remember.
Yep,
that's Odell Beckham. And here's the thing. If you look at the conference right now, the NFC conference, it is wide open. All right, is anybody going to trust that the Cowboys are going to make a run next year? They've had problems in the second half of the season. They can't really get this defense moving. They've lost some players in free agency. Some guys are probably going to go looking elsewhere to other organizations because they don't want to be a Cowboy anymore. The Eagles, they just lost Travis Kelce's brother, Jason Kelce, Hall of Fame, one of the greatest centers to ever play the game. He's retiring. They're going to have to rebuild that offensive line. Johnson's old. That offensive line is aging. How much? And by the way, they bring in Kellen Moore. How good are they going to be offensively over there? The Commanders, they have a new coaching regime. I mean, they have a defensive-minded coach. Yes, they brought in Kingsbury. Do they move up for Caleb Williams? If they do, are they going to be any good? Who knows? I mean, the Lions, we know what they are. The Packers, well, let's see what they could do with Jordan, with Jordan again this year. So, again, there's a lot of questions right now with the conference. I could go up and down all these different teams. Does anybody believe the Falcons, even if they bring in Kirk Cousins, does anybody believe this young, and by the way, new coaching staff is going to jump everybody else and jump? Hey, listen, the Giants, all they need is 1 or 2 offensive weapons, and they can compete next year. They can. If Daniel Jones can actually stay on the field, they can actually win. Who's to say the Giants can't win that division?
Yeah, the Giants right now, a lot of their talent outside of, like I said, Thomas and Lawrence are all spots at not key positions either. And there was something else coming out that you look at some of the trends of even some of the players that were cut from free agency, a lot of safeties, a lot of linebackers, and a lot of running backs. These are positions that aren't valued as much. Those are a lot of the strengths of what the Giants were last year, including Xavier McKinney and Saquon Barkley, who are now gone from the team. Their linebackers and safeties were actually good, but what they did not have? Edge rushers, because Thibodeau, he's had a lot of sacks, but
overrated.
He hasn't been as consistent as you want him to be, and he hasn't developed into the all-around pass rusher that you need him to be. Bad against the run and not really great with the power moves. And offensive line-wise, obviously, we've talked about Evan Neal, how horrible he has been. He's looking like the worst first-round tackle we've seen, really, of any team. And then, obviously, the wide receivers, like we talked about, all smaller receivers outside of Isaiah Hodgins, who barely saw the ball last year. Darren Waller, who can't stay healthy, played all right when he was healthy, but still, they can't trust that kind of thing for $14 million. And it's not like the Giants are like the Commanders or the Bears that have all this cap space where they can spend all this money. They don't have a lot of upside presented to them. And that's why it's going to be hard to throw with a quarterback with that kind of circumstances into the fire, and even trusting that Dable's going to be there after this year with all the issues he had with these other coaches.
And now we look at right now in free agency, some people being cut and some people getting franchise tagged. There's a lot of questions. Obviously, the New York Jets with Bryce Huff. And I'll say this, as a Jet fan, and no, we don't have Sean Smith on, so I don't have to be charged $1 every single time I bring up the New York Jets. But Bryce Huff, that made absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense. This guy has been one of the best pass rushers in the league. One of the top, I would say, 5 or 6 getting to the quarterback all season long. He had 10 sacks this year. He broke out. This guy was an undrafted player. Undrafted. This was a Joe Douglas fine, okay? Look at Michael Carter. Michael Carter, the second, had a sensational 3-4 years with the New York Jets. Actually, it's 3 years. And he's been one of the best slot corners in all of the NFL. Why didn't they franchise him? Are they negotiating a deal with him? Are they negotiating a deal with both these guys? Because going into last week, they did get the $30 million that every other team got from the new Prime deal that they got from Amazon Prime. But guess what? They only had, going into 2 weeks ago, $15 million to spend. Now, I know Douglas decided to part ways with Lincoln Tomlinson and part ways with some of the other players that they had, some of the other veteran players. They decided Uzuma, every single one of these guys that were not being used. But when you look at guys like Bryce Huff, you cannot let him go into the free agency frenzy, okay? This guy is not going to get $20 million. He's not. And that's because he's only done it 1 year. And now he's a free agent. He was an undrafted player. So the Jets could lose him for $14 or $15 million. This guy could go to another team, become an all-pro player. And the Jets, how about the Giants going after him? But the Jets decided to part ways with him because, hey, they didn't want to give him 14 million for 3 years. They could have given him 14, 15 a year for 3 years, and he would have been happy.
And then you talk about premier positions again. As a slot corner, which is being valued a lot more in today's game with Michael Carter. Now, I think if they franchise tagged him, they might have tried to trade him because they have to pay other things. But Bryce Huff, they definitely should have done that anyway, because you talk about the dead money that they're going to have to do with Carl Lawson. He might be another cap casualty as well. That could happen. And obviously all the young players, Jermaine Johnson played well last year. Will McDonald, we'll see how he does with more snaps. But right now, Bryce Huff is that number one edge rusher that they need to go along with their talent in the defense, in the middle of that defensive line, in the middle of that field with the linebackers. So the fact that they didn't do that is very puzzling as well. And there's a lot of teams doing that with defensive players now that just are unsure with them because of the track record of just not being sustainable. Miami did that with Christian Wilkins too, which was very weird. They got rid of him, who's been one of the probably top 10 defensive tackles the last 3 years. And the Bears have done it with some of their defensive players. I think they franchise tagged Jalen Johnson, but they have to decide if they want a long-term deal with him too. And
Giants with McKinney too. I think they would have signed him and traded him, but at least try to do something where you're going to get value out of this. It just makes no sense. A lot of these teams that are approaching, especially on the defensive side.
And again, when you look at free agency, it's so wide open. You don't know. And there's a lot of teams that have a lot of money, like the Lions, a team that's up and coming. They're young. They're energetic. They're fun to watch. You saw what they did against the 49ers. They should have won that game. If they win that game, maybe they go to the Super Bowl and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, I'm sorry. The Sean Joneses. Yes, the Sean Joneses Kansas City Chiefs. But again, the Lions have a lot of money this offseason. I think they have close to, 60 million or 65 million. So what do they need? So they need to add some corners. They can draft some corners. They can bring in some free agent corners, and they can add a wide receiver here. They can add a tight end here. They can add a running back here. They have enough money that they could go out there and do whatever they want. And by the way, they have one of the best young offensive lines in all of football.
Yeah, they could also go for edge rushing depth as well. There's going to be something that's going to be available.
Bryce Huff?
Yeah, Bryce Huff, definitely, if they want to go younger. We were talking about it last week with Pete Bursick. Daniil Hunter is going to be a one that's a veteran guy, a hot commodity, probably for like a 3-year deal, who had 15 sacks last year. The Lions are one of those teams that you look at the money combination and the talent combination can be very dangerous. And Brad Holmes won GM of the year for a reason last year, the way he's drafted, and they made that instant impact right away. And they didn't have to use their franchise tag. They're knowing that there's going to be all these guys dangled out there that are either signed on franchise tags or not, or guys that were let go of, like I was saying with Wilkins and McKinney and guys like that. The Lions can make a trade for L'Jarius Sneed if they wanted a corner. They can make a trade for Brian Burns if they want an edge rusher too. They have so much they could do right now because the other teams have made so many mistakes.
And Von Miller restructured his contract. Ooh, wow. $7 million signing bonus. He's now, well, he was originally supposed to make $17.1 million base salary, is closer to the league minimum, but he can reach $17.1 million with a payout going into this season. So there's incentives. He can make up to $20 million this year if he gets up to his incentives. I don't know if Von Miller is the same player he once was, but this guy's going to make close to 15 to 17 million. And he did nothing last year for the Buffalo Bills. And what did the Buffalo Bills have to do? The last couple of days, they had to get rid of their secondary. They have nobody coming back in their starting secondary.
Yeah, and that's still not the only thing they have to figure out, too. The Von Miller, they just restructured to save $17 million, and those other guys that let go of, they're still over $20 million over the cap, too. They have to figure out their second receiver. Gabe Davis is gone. They have to figure out a lot of spots on defense now. Like you said, all the secondary is gone. The one thing that Brandon Beane has not drafted well has been corners. They've drafted their other pass rushers actually played very well last year, and their offensive line played well. But they have not drafted they haven't drafted secondary players very well. And now they have to replace 3 guys. It's going to be very hard to do.
I mean, and again, the free agency frenzy is going to open up in the next week. Okay. So we're going to see a lot of these guys start to drop. And you're going to probably hear that probably in the next couple of days where a lot of these guys are probably going to end up with which team and how much money they're going to get. But right now, there's a lot of questions because this could change everything for the season this coming year, because we have seen bad teams become better teams with the acquisitions that they make and some of the draft picks that they bring in. Look at the Lions. Look how long it took the Lions to become they were one of the worst teams in the league to become one of the best teams in the NFL. It didn't take long. All you needed to do was put the right executive in there that was drafting right and bringing in the right free agents. And then what did they do? They found the right coach in Dan Campbell, and they put the right pieces around him to succeed. And I'll tell you this right now. There are quite a few teams out there, including the Washington Commanders, because I said this, Dan Quinn, and I like Kingsbury. I think Kingsbury is a good offensive coordinator. I don't think he's a good coach. I think he's a good offensive coordinator. And depending on what quarterback they bring in, Washington could be dangerous this year.
Yeah, and they have a lot of money to fill in the rest of that defense the way that Dan Quinn wants to build it up, too. And Fish was just mentioning it on the graphic, like how many veteran linebackers, veteran safeties that got cut. This was a very young defense for Washington last year that did well in Ron Rivera's first year in the league. They made the playoffs, and then did well even the year before that when they almost made the playoffs, and all 4 NFC East teams almost made the playoffs. But last year they were the worst defense in the NFL, and now you have all these guys that could definitely fill in, these veteran guys. And Justin Simmons was just cut by the Broncos today, one of the better safeties in the NFL. You look at Shaq Barrett, another edge rusher I forgot about too.
Yeah,
he's going to probably, like Hunter, probably get a 2 or 3 year deal.
Going to go to player. I wouldn't be surprised if Shaq Barrett goes to Kansas City because because Chris Jones is probably going elsewhere. I do not believe they're going to bring him back. Chris Jones is looking for a 3-year extension that's going to pay him for the rest of his career. Chris Jones is what, 31, 32? Yeah. He's at the tail end of his career. He wants to make the most possible money he can possibly make. He's already won how many Super Bowls? So he really doesn't need to win anymore. And maybe he goes to a team that's going to pay him that has a chance to win, aka the Lions or the Atlanta Falcons. Some of these teams that have a chance to compete in the NFC, because the NFC is so wide open. Say whatever you want. We all know San Francisco is going to be there next year. We know the Lions are going to be there. I don't know if the Eagles are going to be there next year.
The team to watch that also has money too now is the Rams. They purged a lot of their veteran players too. They made the playoffs last year.
They got Puka there.
Yeah.
They have a great wide receiving core that can make plays in the open field. They have a great running game in Williams. I think the Rams could be very explosive. They need to clean up some of that defensive side of the ball, add to that corner play that was very weak defensively for them this year, especially the safety play. If they add some pieces there, I mean, the Rams could absolutely be a game-changing NFC team.
Yep, corner and edge rusher, I think for them definitely. They have enough interior guys with what we were talking about. Obviously, Aaron Donald is great, but they also had Durant that was a Rookie of the Year finalist.
Aaron Donald is actually coming to a tail end of his career. You could see it because this guy was an all-pro player for how many years in a row? 8 years in a row. He was one year away from breaking the record. And he hasn't been an all-pro player since then. But that has a lot to do with guys like Dexter Lawrence, Quentin Williams, all these different guys. Those are just New York guys. So there's a
Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah. There have been so many good interior linemen now coming up, athletic interior linemen. So, and the Eagles have a bunch of them too. So I think that, when you're looking at the Rams and where the Rams are right there. And Sean McVay decided to stay there. And after giving up all those draft stock and all those draft picks that they had for giving up, a player that's now playing for Miami, they're still in position where they can still win.
Yeah, and like we were talking about with the approach with teams like the Giants before, like teams that win Super Bowls now, besides the Rams are the one exception to that rule because, like you said, they traded for so many veteran players. Now, not to say they didn't draft well, but they traded so many draft picks for trading so many veteran players and won a Super Bowl. But every other team has had a pretty natural trajectory to get there. The Buccaneers built up the rest of their roster, then they got Tom Brady. The Chiefs have built up the rest of their roster, then got Mahomes. Like they traded a lot of those guys from when they drafted Mahomes, fine, but they still had good talent. And that's why these other teams have to take these approaches, not overreact the same way we've seen a lot of these teams have. And I think a lot of teams are still stuck in that same position because of that, including the Giants, who are right now in that really bad in-between where they're making players disgruntled.
Look how many all-pro players are available this offseason. Yep. I mean, the Broncos just released an all-pro safety in Justin Simmons. So he was a second-team all-pro safety. Now, there are a ton of teams that are looking for safety play. A lot of teams that don't have that kind of safety play that they need. Look at what Atlanta did. Look what Atlanta paid for last year, and it absolutely helped. And when they added Jesse Bates to that defense, that secondary, it changed their secondary. It changed their defense. They went from one of the worst defenses in the league to the middle of a pack kind of defense, where I think they were ranked 13th or 14th last year in all defense and all-purpose defensive yards. So that says a lot about what you can do and how much you can change a defense or a team or an offense if you add one player, aka the New York Giants, on why the Giants should be adding a wide receiver.
Yeah, a wide receiver, especially when, again, the Chiefs are right now the exception to that rule. You need good wide receivers unless you have Patrick Mahomes. And every other team that's won a championship besides them has had very good wide receiving cores.
We knew the Bengals were going to franchise Higgins.
Of course.
We knew it. But that doesn't mean they can't trade him. That doesn't mean that they're not interested in trading him.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't the Giants reach out to Cincinnati and ask them, how much do you want? What do you want for Higgins? T. Higgins did not have a good season last year. Maybe because Joe Burrow was hurt. Maybe that was it. Maybe he just wasn't up to putting up the numbers that he was over the last couple of years. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't 100% himself.
Yeah, he wasn't playing well with Burrow healthy anyway. Like, he was kind of up and down as it was.
Maybe he wasn't 100% last year.
He wasn't. He had a lot of lingering injuries in the first half of the season. And the Giants have to keep this in mind, too. They have 2 second-round picks because they traded Leonard Williams to Seattle. Use one of those to make something work, Joe Shane.
You look at all these teams. Look at Green Bay. Look how much money they have this offseason. I mean, Jordan Love had a sensational year. And everybody thinks that, hey, if Jordan Love could do it again, if he could prove himself with all the young wide receivers that he has, and I know Jeff's going to say they don't really have a number 1 or a number 2. They're all okay. That's what I've been saying about New England. I've been saying that for years. And you said, hey, the New England Patriots have all number 2s. And what did that bring them? What did that bring them? I don't know. Mac Jones who can't throw a football. So, again, you look at the position that the Green Bay Packers are in. They have a quarterback. They have everything situated except offensive line help, which they're going to need.
Right.
And they need, I believe they might need 2 or 3 other weapons that they can add to this roster that can help them win. And I think a lot of it has to do with probably the defensive side of the ball. I don't
say run defense.
Yeah, offensive line and probably defensive side of the ball. Maybe another defensive end or a defensive tackle, or maybe a nose tackle.
Yeah.
If they can add 1 or 2 of those type of players, I think the Green Bay Packers could win their division next year, even over the Lions, as they played well against the Lions this year.
Yeah, they could definitely fill in with a combination of 2 of the linebackers and safeties that were brought up in that graphic that Fish had up. A lot of them are going to be available. You go sign Simmons, you go sign Eric Kendricks. That's a good defense. Like that'll help your run defense right there in itself. Because I think their interior defensive tackles are good, but they don't have the edge rushers, the power edge rushers that they used to have when they had the Dom Capers defense. And they've lost a lot with the run defense because of that. And it's hindered them pretty much in every playoff game that they've lost, besides that 13-10 one, that weird snow game against the 49ers, where they actually was decent stopping the run that game. Every other playoff game that they've lost recently is really big because of that.
And Fish, leave that up. Significant NFL cuts right now. And in the Bills, obviously losing Jordan Poyer, he is going to be a hot commodity. There are going to be a lot of teams looking at a guy like Jordan Poyer. First of all, he's young. And he's a leader. He was a captain on this Bills safety, second team, and he could do a lot for another defense. And he can add. I know everybody keeps saying the Jets. They could add somebody like him. They need some safety help. You combine him with Adams. I've heard that the Jets are looking to bring back Clark. He missed the season. I tore his ACL. I think it was his ACL or an Achilles, something like that. But he was out for the season. I think it was the ACL. So Jordan Poyer. Harry being, and then Tre'Davious White. Now, Tre'Davious White is not the same player he once was. He's not. But he's still a good player. He still can help. And I'll tell you this right now. If I were the Lions, you don't have to pay a lot to bring in a Tre'Davious White. He's an older player. He's a veteran player. He can help some of the young players that they could bring in the draft. If they draft another corner, you bring in a Tre'Davious White. He's going to be a great leader for those young corners that they could bring in. And then the Broncos, Russell Wilson, Justin Simmons, the Chiefs, Scantling. I don't think anybody wants him. Eric Kendricks, a linebacker, pretty good linebacker, came from the Minnesota Vikings, so he's a good player. Xavier Howard, Jerome Baker. These are all players that teams are going to look at and definitely want to add. CJ Uzomah could be a piece, maybe the Cowboys, if they want to add another tight end. He didn't really do well for the New York Jets. I don't think maybe he goes back to Cincinnati.
I was just going to say that.
Maybe he goes back there. The Bucs, Shaq Barrett is a big commodity. I think he'll be a big piece, a Super Bowl contender. Maybe the Green Bay Packers could bring in a Shaq Barrett. I said also maybe the Chiefs, another team that would bring in a guy like that can give them that depth that they need. The Seahawks, dropping Jamal Adams. Adams more than likely is going to the Cowboys. He'll probably take a pay cut to go to the Cowboys. So there, and then there's obviously Kevin Byard, who was brought to the team from Tennessee. He was an all-pro player, a kind of guy that is another safety that you could bring in that can help out a very good defense. So there's quite a few players that are going to be available in free agency that teams could absolutely make a move for that can absolutely make that team better.
Yeah, that's why we mentioned the Packers, the Bears, and the Rams. Those 3 teams that could just really fill in the defense well with the rest of that cap space. And in a free agency class and a draft that is generally, with the top players, still more thought of as more offensive centric, there's still some good value here to fill in this defense in quantity. Because you look at all these other teams that I mentioned that are winning Super Bowls, they still added to that defense in quantity a lot more. Tampa builds up that defense through the draft. The Chiefs have done it through trades and the draft, combination of different things. Obviously, the Patriots have done it for years.
I like Byard. If I were the Jets, that's the guy I would look at. If you're going to bring in a safety, if you don't want to bring in Clark, Boyer's going to be too expensive because he's going to want a long-term extension.
Yeah.
The Jets bringing in Byard, you could bring him in for a 2-year deal. You bring him in with Adams. Adams looks like he's a player. If he could stay on the field, and you add a guy like Byard, a veteran player that can do so many, you can put him at strong safety. You could put him at free safety. He could play both positions. And I think that type of player and that kind of leader in the secondary can help out Sauce Gardner, can help out a guy like Reed. And by the way, this secondary is one of the best secondaries in football.
Yeah, they could plug a lot of guys in and make that work with the corners that they have. The Jets have a lot of upside. If they can get somebody like the Jets are one of those teams that have to probably look at more for depth, just dealing with injuries. But there's going to be a lot of other teams out there that can still plug that in and having Byard probably at this point is more of a zone coverage safety. So that's why it fits the Jets even more. And I also look at the 49ers who play a lot of zone too. If they want to get a safety for cheap too, if he wants to take a pay cut to win a Super Bowl too with the 49ers, that could be a possibility.
When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get into several NBA players commenting the GOAT debate on LeBron reaching 40,000 career points. So a lot of players over the last couple of days believe maybe they should be calling LeBron James the GOAT. And Karl-Anthony Towns out indefinitely with a meniscus tear. When we come back, we'll get into some NBA conversation. But first, ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Scoops for our Sports Minute.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? That is right. This is the Loudmouth Sports Minute. I am the man, Tommy Scoops, to give you guys all the rundown. Where currently, the current scoop is in the NFL. What is going on in the NFL, guys? Everybody is getting dropped like hotcakes. The boys were just mentioning it. New faces are seeing new teams, new franchises. But the Rams did announce that they are re-signing Kevin Dotson. The offensive guard is going to be signed to a 3-year deal, $48 million to stay in LA. Shifting over into the NBA, Anthony Edwards, the star all-star, actually sprained his ankle 5 seconds into the game against the Pacers. Edwards actually has returned to the game, but be aware because he could be limited toward the game. Speaking of the NBA, the league announced that in 2027, the All-Star game will be played in Phoenix, the home of the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury. They will be seeing basketball, all-star basketball in Phoenix. Right now, the Knicks fans, you should listen up because OG Anunoby earlier today, was listed as day-to-day. It is reported that he is currently practicing 5-on-5s, and he is trending in the right direction to get back in the Knicks uniform. While still speaking of injury, Miami Heat's star point guard, Tyler Hero, is actually out tonight's game against the Mavericks. Tyler Hero actually is going to miss today's game and the next game against the Thunder. And right now, I know Heat fans are going to want to see Hero and Rozier back in the lineup. All right, so now it's time for Scoops to Scores, where I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the scores going on right now. Currently in the NBA, Brooklyn is currently trailing 49-46 against the Pistons, with the Timberwolves holding a 47-34 lead against the Pacers. Right now, Miami is currently facing off with Dallas. Miami currently has a 31-22 lead over Dallas. Switching over into the NHL, currently Toronto and Boston are facing off, with Boston holding a 1-0 lead in the first period. Calgary and Tampa Bay are both tied up 1-1, with currently Philadelphia and Florida both have nothing apiece right now. New Jersey and St. Louis are both tied up right now, with Washington and Pittsburgh. Currently, Washington has a 1-0 lead over Pittsburgh. And currently, Edmonton Oilers are actually losing 3-0 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. That is currently all the time I have right now for you guys. I'm going to send it over to the boys for the continuation of the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. No Sean Smith tonight, but it's just me and Speedy Petey. We do have our executive producer working the board, as he always does, Mr. Fish. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out all our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Tommy Scoops, ladies and gentlemen, doing our Sports Minute, and we'll have a lot of Sports Minutes moving up throughout the show. But I want to get into some NBA conversation because, listen, there's so much going on in the NBA. We have the playoffs, 20? I think there's about 22, 23 games left of the regular season, and teams are fighting for their dear lives, including the New York Knicks. Right now, sitting there 4 or 5 or even 6. Miami's there. You have Philadelphia there. You have Indianapolis there. There's so many teams crunched together in that 4, 5, and 6 spot. So, and even 7 spots. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun watch going through the tail end of the season. The Athletic reports that Karl-Anthony Towns will be out indefinitely with a torn meniscus in his left knee. Woj reports that it is unclear how big of the tear is, and he doesn't think it would require surgery. Towns only played 29 games last season due to a calf injury, and also had a season playing just 35 games and 50 games. Towns is averaging 22.1 points per game, 8.4 rebounds per game, and 3 assists per game. Towns is shooting 50.6% on the floor, 42.3 at the three-point line, and 87.4% at the free throw line. The Timberwolves have a record of 43-19, tied with the Thunder for the best record in the Western Conference. This is a huge loss. A huge loss for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I almost called them the Minnesota Vikings. I always do that. But right now, you look at the position that Minnesota's in, they're in a great position. In a Western Conference that is wide open this year. Who would have thought that? Denver has been the best team in the Western Conference probably for the last 2 seasons. And I really believe that they're on their way for back-to-back championships. I really think that Denver has that talent and has the bench to succeed and do it back-to-back years. But the way the Wolves have played this year, the way OKC's played, and we all have believed that OKC was on the borderline of success with all the talent that they have, all the youth that they have over there, and all the draft stock they've had over the last couple of seasons, including the next 5 seasons, which they have the most first-round draft picks in the next 5 seasons out of any team in the NBA. Karl-Anthony Towns has been a big part of this team's success. I know Anthony Edwards has been there too, but these guys have been their workhorses. And bringing in Rudy Gobert, he has been fantastic defensively. He gives them that spark. Last year, he really didn't do that, but this year, he's been everything that they wanted after giving up all those picks. Yes, we've been saying this over and over. Danny Ainge stealing from the Wolves and getting all those first-round draft picks and second-round draft picks and all that stock they got from the Wolves to add Rudy Gobert to this roster. It hasn't worked, but this year, it has worked. And now losing Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert is going to have to play a bigger part. He's going to have to be that much better in the paint. He is going to have to help out Anthony Edwards. Now, he's not an offensive player. He's not going to put up 20 points a game, 22 points a game like Karl-Anthony Towns. But what he can do is dominate in the paint. If he's averaging right now 3 blocks a game, I think that's what he's averaging. He needs to average 5 blocks a game. He is going to have to do more on the boards, offensive side and defensive side of the balls. This guy was one of the best defensive players in the league for the last 7 years. He's won Defensive Player of the Year, not once, but twice. So he is that type of player that can help out Anthony Edwards. Losing a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns for at least 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, you also look at what we were talking about yesterday with the Knicks. When a key player goes down, how are they going to solve it with this depth? And that's going to be a big test for this coach, which has had criticisms in the past of the way they've managed these players. I know a lot of our betting guys were taking shots at him for all the fourth quarter collapses that they had in the playoffs. And that kind of thing is going to have to be tested now. Because like you said, Rudy Gobert does not provide the offensive spark by any means that Karl-Anthony Towns does. He's a very traditional big man, like you said, a great defensive player, got rim protector, but offensively doesn't provide much. And they need that in the front court because Jaden McDaniels is the other one that's that same kind of player that the Timberwolves have, not much offense and all defense. And as of right now, Anthony Edwards is the only other one providing that consistent offensive spark from a scoring perspective. And if the Timberwolves are going to try to get a higher seed in this Western Conference with OKC playing as well as it has, and even look at the top 5 in the Western Conference, they all have gotten a lot closer now. Like you talked about last week, the Clippers have gotten really hot, and they were actually number 1 in the West at one point before they had a little bit of a losing streak. The Nuggets, like you said, are the best team in the NBA when healthy, and the even some of these other younger teams are climbing too. And that kind of thing could dip the Timberwolves from 1 to even some as low as 5 or 6 at this point.
And Rudy Gobert is having a good season. I'm looking at his numbers right now. He's averaging 13.8 points per game, 12.8 rebounds per game, and 1 assist per game. So he is giving you what you were asking him for. And I think he's averaging closer to 2.5 blocks per game. He needs to boost that up. He needs to put that up to 4 or 5. He needs to be more dominant in the paint, maybe giving them at least 15 points or 16 points a game moving forward to help out on the loss for a Karl-Anthony Towns. But there are quite a few other players that you look at that could help out offensively. Jalen Clark is a guy that is a youngster, a guy that can actually, put up points. He hasn't played a lot this year. Maybe bringing in some of these young guards, letting them get a chance to play will help out. Take a little bit of pressure off a guy like Anthony Edwards. All these young guys that you have on your roster right now that you haven't used enough this year, maybe bring them out and see what they have. Because look, the Nets did it, and look what they found in the scoop. So you have all these other guys, all these young guys on this roster. Bring them in and see what you have.
Yeah, and the Timberwolves have been an organization reluctant to do that for a while, which is very strange they've had some luck with the draft getting the Edwards and getting Towns as early as
they bring in Wendell Moore. What have they done with him?
Yeah, that's a big issue when it comes to the rest of their player development, developing depth around it. Remember, the Timberwolves were thought of when they drafted Towns as one of those teams of the future, along with the Sixers. And the Timberwolves have not won a playoff series with Towns there. They made the playoffs twice. Like I said, they won the one playing game. Patrick Beverley loves to jump around the court and troll the Clippers fans, whatever. But then they collapsed in that series against the Grizzlies. The other one, they were barely getting in as an 8th seed, and they got swept. So that's not where you want to go as a franchise right now. And you're right. They're going to have to, especially with the front court now, they're going to have to test a lot more other options offensively. Their other best offensive option is Naz Reid right now. A good big man at LSU, but not much in the NBA.
Now losing a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, you only have one player that's averaging over 20 points a game, and that's Anthony Edwards. And it's amazing how they've played this year with only 2 guys scoring over 20 points. It's amazing. It really is. And that says a lot about the coaching and what this team has done this year with the talent that they have on this roster. Now, they have a bunch of young guys on this roster, but they're not using them enough. Like I said, Wendell Moore, they drafted him. I think he was a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, I think a mid-first-round pick, if I remember correctly.
He was a first-round. I remember him on Duke.
Yep.
He was a good player. Why haven't they used him? Why hasn't he been used as much as he should be used? Maybe they use him more in this offense. And again, we don't know when Karl-Anthony Towns is coming back or if he's coming back. Now, I do believe he's coming back because we've seen Ron Artest, and they're saying that the tear is not as bad as they thought it was, which tells me that they're going to keep him off his knee for at least 3 weeks, and then they're going to test it again. If the test shows that he can play, they'll probably put him, give him a brace and get him back on the court. They want to make sure that they don't lose him for a significant amount of time, and they want to make sure that he's one of their franchise players. They don't want to lose him for a significant amount of years if he tears his knee even worse or tears his ACL. So this is a big opportunity moving forward for OKC to take over sole custody of first place. And even, yes, the Denver Nuggets that have been waiting for this way to move in on these 2 other teams, these 2 young teams in front of them. So, and I do believe Denver's the beast of the West. I really still believe they are. They have the best player in the world in Jokic. Yes, he's the best player in the world. And Murray, even though Murray has not had the season he had last year, he's still a sensational player. He's a different player in the playoffs. He definitely takes it up another notch in the playoffs. And Michael Porter is dangerous. And we know their bench, they can put up the numbers too. And I think they have one of the best benches in the NBA.
Yeah, and you also look at the way that teams are winning now outside of the Golden State Warriors. The teams are winning now with size, with physical players that can be well-rounded players too. And that trend kind of started after the Warriors.
Look what the Knicks are doing.
Yeah, the Knicks are doing it very well. Look at the trend that kind of Toronto started when they had Kawhi Leonard. They had a lot of good size, big men that could do a lot of different things on that team, and guys that could guard the perimeter, which the Knicks have now too with OG Anunoby and all those other guys we were talking about yesterday. And then you had the Lakers. The Lakers were kind of fluky now that we look at it, but they still have LeBron and Anthony Davis. Bucs size. The Nuggets, like you said, great size. Nikola Jokic even this year, he's top 5 in like per game in I think 4 of the 6 major categories in the
Yeah.
NBA. That's scary to think of, that there's another level to that guy. And the efficiency is off the charts with that kind of thing. And the Timberwolves had to have that kind of thing with Towns if they wanted to compete the way they did. I think a lot of people are surprised that they were the number 1 seed. I don't think anyone expected that at the start of the year. But we always knew them as the kind of that young upside team with all the draft picks that they had. It was just a matter of if they could keep their players happy and not be the dysfunctional organization we know them to be with Tom Thibodeau, with all these other coaches that they've had in years past, keeping all these players not there. And like you said, Danny Ainge completely trying to just throw Kevin Garnett away to the Celtics the way he did.
LeBron James became the first NBA player to score 40,000 points, leading many NBA players to comment on the GOAT debate. Scottie Pippen has switched back and forth on who is the GOAT in NBA history. Jordan had lesser roles with the Bulls than LeBron has had on all the other teams he's played for. MJ's former agent, David Falk, says that Pippen has envy against MJ because of the relationship with MJ's son, Marcus, and Pippen's ex-wife, Larsa. MJ commented about comparisons of LeBron and him, different eras. MJ previously said that he would take Kobe over LeBron, and a few weeks ago, he called Larry Bird the greatest small forward ever. Larry Bird said about LeBron James, played with worse teammates during his career, especially with the Cavaliers in his younger years. LeBron James said about Michael Jordan being able to score 50 in today's NBA that no player will be able to do that. Okay, so let's get into this, okay? Because there's a lot of questions to this debate. And for the last, I would say, 10 years, people have been trying to compare LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Michael Jordan. For some reason, these two other guys comparing him to Michael Jordan. And I watched The Last Dance once again. I've watched this documentary on the Chicago Bulls 3 times. And I think it's a fantastic documentary. If you haven't checked it out on Netflix, go check it out. I watched it during COVID. It was on ESPN. Fantastic, fantastic documentary. I couldn't wait for the next episode after the next episode after the next episode. LeBron James is going to break every single record before he's done. LeBron James is 39 years old. He already said he wants to play at least 2 more years. He wants to play with his son, Bronny. His son's probably going to move forward and put himself into the NBA draft after his college season with USC. He doesn't look like he's much of a player, but hey, we all know Marcus. We all know Jeffrey. They weren't good basketball players either, and they never played in the NBA. But the NBA is completely different. They love these athletic kids, and Bronny has the athletic ability to possibly make a roster. But when you sit here today and you bring up Michael Jordan's name and put it anywhere close to LeBron James, or even putting LeBron James' name even close to Michael Jordan, it's ridiculous. Okay? I've watched both these guys grow into being sensational players. Do I believe that LeBron James is the second greatest player of all time? He's proven it. He is. Yes. No question, the second greatest player of all time. I don't care what Michael says. I know he loves Kobe, and may he rest in peace. And Kobe was a great player. On my list of great players and sensational NBA superstars, or even the greatest of all time, Kobe wouldn't even be on my top 10. So for anybody, including Michael Jordan, to say that Kobe Bryant is anywhere close to LeBron James is ridiculous. But for anybody to put LeBron James's name anywhere close to Michael Jordan is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't care if he's breaking every single record. I don't care if Michael Jordan didn't come close to 40,000 points. Michael Jordan retired for 2 years. His father was killed. He wanted to play professional baseball. Michael Jordan probably would have won, and I'm going to say this again, he won back-to-back 3 NBA championships. Back-to-back. He won 3, then he retired for 2 years, and then he came back and won another 3. If he didn't miss those 2 years in 94 and 95, he probably wins 8 championships in a row. And if the Chicago Bulls decide to run it again in 99, in the short season after the strike, they probably win 9 in a row. Michael Jordan was the reason because of that. And for Scottie Pippen to take shots and say that Jordan played a lesser role on the Bulls, what are you, nuts?
Yeah, really?
What are you, nuts? Scottie, let me ask you a question. The 2 years that Michael Jordan was retired, did you win a championship? Did you even make the NBA Finals?
Nope.
You didn't. You couldn't beat the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Do you remember that? The Knicks couldn't get over the hump against Houston, but I remember that. The Michael Jordan-less Chicago Bulls could not beat the New York Knicks. And I think that was in the semifinals because they played Indiana in the Eastern Conference Finals and they beat Indiana and Reggie Miller. So I'm sorry, it was the semifinals. Honestly, LeBron James is a sensational player. And there are a lot of great players that we can remember. I can remember when I watched them develop and become superstars. I mean, I saw Tim Duncan when he got drafted from Wake Forest. It took him a little while. It didn't take him that long to win a championship, but it took him a little while to become the player that he became. I watched Karl Malone develop into one of the best offensive players, one of the best power forwards, the mailman we've ever seen. I watched Magic Johnson at the tail end of his career play on that 92 Dream Team, on Larry Bird, those great Celtic teams, and Isaiah Thomas on the Bad Boys of the Pistons. I even remember those Piston teams with Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace and Rick Hamilton. I remember it all. I was a big NBA fan. I was. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Michael Jordan played against better talent in the time that he was dominant than LeBron James has.
Especially in the Eastern Conference.
If you look at the talent that LeBron James has played over the years, honestly, I like Dwayne Wade. I think he's sensational. He's one of the best shooting guards we've ever seen. There's no question that he is. But the guy couldn't stay healthy. Chris Bosh, fantastic, great player for the Toronto Raptors. Did they ever go to the finals? I mean, seriously, LeBron James played in the Eastern Conference practically his whole career.
It really only had like every year like one good team in it that was like a real threat.
He won 1 championship in the Western Conference with the Lakers in the bubble years of COVID.
Right.
1 championship. And that says a lot, okay? And I'm just speaking the truth. LeBron James, if he had his choice, if the Lakers were in the Eastern Conference, he'd stay in the Eastern Conference. The only reason why he went to the LA Lakers was because of his brand. He wanted to start his production company. He had all these different opportunities, and that's why he went to LA. Michael Jordan is the greatest athlete I've ever seen. The greatest player. He was a killer. A killer. I don't know if I'm telling you, go watch The Last Dance. If you don't know Michael Jordan, if you've never really seen Michael Jordan or know anything about Michael Jordan didn't understand the word losing, okay? He didn't understand it. He was out there. And by the way, Michael Jordan played 82 games every single season because he knew everybody was out there ready and willing to go and watch him play.
Yeah, and you also look at it from a statistical perspective, too. LeBron James played most of his career in what is considered a three-point revolution, in probably starting in the beginning of last decade, 2010. So he played from 2010 to now. That's 14 years of his career with having that being a prominent part in the game. Now, I'm not saying that's the strength of LeBron's game because he does so many things well, but also Michael Jordan did so many things well. So everyone that has LeBron as this GOAT is considering, Michael Jordan was an inefficient three-point shooter. Well, it wasn't as prominent in the game. Imagine Michael Jordan with today's training and today's concept shooting the three-pointer. Then your stats get elevated more. Michael Jordan is in that 40,000 realm because of that, and the volume is going to be there for him to do that.
Did you see Michael Jordan against Utah in the playoffs when he had to shoot those threes?
Yep.
I think I do remember when he played against Portland in the finals, and he hit, 9 threes in a row?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Michael Jordan could hit threes. Was he as efficient as a three-point shooter? No, because it was a different game then.
Right.
Like you were saying, Speedy, it's a different era. It's a different era. You're going to tell me right now, if Michael Jordan played in the game with the rules now where you can't even put your hands on anybody, if you're telling me that Michael Jordan wouldn't be averaging 60 to 65 points a game, you're absolutely blind. I don't know if you've ever watched the NBA in the 90s. You can throw people around. If you put a pinky on LeBron James, he's at the free throw line.
Yeah, whining to the refs. A revolution caused by LeBron James. And
James Harden, Steph Curry. Come on, give me a break. Steph Curry wouldn't even be in the NBA for more than 3 years. They would have threw him around like a wet paper bag.
Yeah. My favorite fake stat of all time is James Harden probably averages 5.5 times he gets away with traveling per game. So
I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know if anybody remembers Charles Barkley. I don't know, Dennis Rodman. And everybody keeps talking about all these bad boys right now in the NBA or Draymond Green. Draymond Green would be punched out. I'm telling you right now, Shaquille O'Neal would knock him the hell out if he did the crazy stuff that he was doing to Rudy Gobert. If Draymond Green did that in the 90s, somebody would have killed him. Yep. Could you imagine him try to do that and pull that stuff off on Ron Artest? Could you imagine that? Ron Artest would have put his foot in his ass, literally.
If time travel ever does exist, you could get Draymond Green to travel back in time and put him in the malice of the palace so he could go.
Bill Laimbeer try to do that against those Pistons, those nasty Pistons. Bill Laimbeer, could you imagine that? If he tried to go up on a layup, Bill Laimbeer would have threw him 6 or 7, rows up on the, on the basketball court. I mean, there was no way. Go look at what the Pistons did to Michael Jordan. They beat the hell out of him. And Michael Jordan was a tough-minded player. He went out there and he still put up his numbers. He didn't give a crap how bad. Dude, he had bruises. He had stitches on the top of his eye in some of those games against those Piston teams. He went out there and still put up 38 against them.
Mm-hmm. And again, like I was saying, you have the concepts coming in of today's NBA. If Michael Jordan still has that elevates his scoring total as well. The other thing,
at least 20 points.
Yeah, the other thing too that you're not factoring, anyone that says LeBron is the GOAT is not factoring in, is Michael Jordan would have had access to modern training, which LeBron, give him credit for the longevity. The longevity is incredible.
Has anybody seen Michael Jordan's training in the 90s? I don't know. I don't know if anybody checked out when he was doing that cartoon movie. It was Space Jam.
Right.
They built a facility for him, okay? During that offseason, in the summertime, when Michael Jordan was coming back and he was trying to get healthy, that was when he played against Orlando and lost in the Eastern Conference Finals. That season, that offseason, Michael Jordan, they built a training basketball facility, and he had his own trainer there. He would do the movie. He would do the movie from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. He would go and train during those breaks, 3-4 hours a day. And then he would invite NBA players, top NBA players, to come and play pickup games against him where he dominated, and then do it again and again and again and again, week after week. It took him almost 6 weeks, 7 weeks to make that movie. And Reggie Miller came out and said, that guy's not human. He's a machine. He's not human. How does he go and do a movie for 9 or 10 hours in a day, train for 3 hours with his trainer, and then go play pickup games till 11 o'clock at night and do it again at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning? Right. Could LeBron James do that?
Nope.
Come on. I don't want to hear his Space Jam movie. That was horrible. That was a horrible movie.
Yeah. And also, you look at him now having access to, potentially, in this hypothetical, obviously, him having access to all the modern technology that's there now, too. All these different types of, I'm not the expert on gyms or anything like that, but all these different types of more elaborate training processes that he would have had access to.
Snug, and you're laughing right now, 60 to 65 points a game, huh? Oh, okay, let's go back into the olden days. Wilt Chamberlain, okay, averaged in 2 seasons 50 or more points a game. Okay, nobody's ever done that. Now let's look at the NBA. Michael Jordan, before he went to the Bullets, okay? Before he went to the Bullets, Michael Jordan, his career, he averaged 33 points a game. Right? 33 points a game. Now, Michael Jordan, if he played in this time, now a guy like RJ Barrett goes to the line 12 times a game. He averaged, I think it's not 12 times. It's like 8 or 9 times a game. So he can average about an extra 14 to 15 points. We have seen James Harden. James Harden, when he was over there with the Rockets, he scored 15 or 16 points a game at the free throw line. All right? 15, 16 points over there when he won his MVP. All right? Could you imagine Michael Jordan play in this time, the way they call fouls, and he goes to the line and scores 20 extra points out of 33? That's 53 points a game. 53. You're going to tell me that Michael Jordan isn't going to shoot threes? You're going to tell me that Michael Jordan is not going to discover how to shoot a three? I mean, the guy was a great three-point shooter anyways. When he needed to score threes and he needed to put them up, he was putting them up against great teams.
Right. And nobody's saying, oh, the guys from the 90s are going to be able to transfer the game. Nobody's saying we're transferring like Shaq or somebody to shoot threes. It's Michael Jordan.
Charles Barkley,
Yeah.
okay? Kenny Smith. There's a bunch of guys. There's a load of guys that said if Michael Jordan played in the prime of his career at this time, he would be averaging close to 60 points a game. 60 points a game. I think you forget how great Michael Jordan was as a player. It's ridiculous. He was ridiculous. He was special. I'm not saying LeBron James isn't special. At this time, when we talk about eras, and I'll say Kobe at one point for like a 6-7 year span before LeBron James became the player he was, Kobe was the best player in the league. But he didn't do it as long as LeBron James and Michael Jordan did it. And by the way, when Michael Jordan was at the top of his game, he had Magic Johnson in the league. He had Larry Bird in the league. He had Isaiah Thomas in the league. We could go on and on. Patrick Ewing. We could go on and on. Akeem Olajuwon. I could bring up player after player after player after player. Larry Bird, Kevin McHale. There were better players in the 90s. It was a different game. You could put your hand on the offensive player. Michael Jordan, you could press your hands. Could you imagine if the NBA now you could put your hands on a player? I mean, you wouldn't be able to score.
Yeah.
They're so athletic. Michael Jordan was ahead of his time. His athletic ability is now. You're seeing players now have that kind of athletic ability. He was doing it in the 80s.
Yep, and doing it in a well-rounded way. There's no significant flaw in Michael Jordan's game that you could downgrade as the greatest, plus the clutch, plus the leadership, plus everything. Like, you can't transfer 90s concepts into today's games. Michael Jordan to do it in today's game. You have to give him the same access in today's game.
Fish, I want to get you in here. And I know you're a big basketball fan and you're a Knicks fan. There's a lot of questions to this argument. It's been a big, huge argument where all these players are going, veteran players, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant over the years, because Kobe Bryant said Michael Jordan's the greatest player. He'll always be the greatest player. But Kobe has a love fest for Michael Jordan. Your thoughts to this whole story?
Well, it's one of those things where it's evolutionary and you're never going to get the answer, that you want, because you're never going to get to see them play against each other. It's the only way to find out. But I like to look at it as nobody was doing the things Jordan was doing before him, and he was the real innovator. And Kobe took what Jordan was doing and made it a little bit more modern and added a couple of things to it, but maybe more ruthless. But I don't think he was necessarily as talented as Jordan. I don't think anyone was. Jordan, I mean, I shouldn't say ruthless. No one was more ruthless than Jordan, but Kobe just seemed meaner. I don't know if that, you know what I mean? Like, he seemed it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that part is, I wasn't focusing on that part.
Ever
but yeah,
since
I can say that.
he changed his name. He changed who he was after the whole
Changed his
rape
number.
thing. He became the Black Mamba.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of positive to say about Kobe as a philanthropist and artist and all those things afterwards. He won an Oscar, before he died, which is crazy to think about as well. And then you have LeBron, who's kind of the evolutionary magic with the influence of Jordan and Kobe. And it's just kind of a beautiful thing to watch that. Now, I don't know who LeBron's influenced to play like him, the same way Jordan influenced
Magic
a
Johnson.
generation and a half. Well, you're right, but no, I'm talking like now, who plays like LeBron?
Right
the
now,
younger
nobody.
people.
Michael Jordan, he changed the game, and it took Kobe
Right.
Bryant to really, change, bring that style back, but bring it in a different way. I think there will be a player in the future that will come out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road. It's not going to be his son, but somebody's going to come into the NBA and is going to transition in that style of game. It's a different game. But again, internationally, Michael Jordan brought the game and brought the game of basketball out there. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki's, all these other guys. And by the way, David Stern said it very, very well in The Last Dance. He said Michael Jordan turned basketball where it was really a United States game, and he brought it internationally. Now, 216 countries fell in love with the game of basketball because of Michael Jordan. LeBron has taken it to another level, but if basketball wouldn't be what it is today without Michael Jordan. Look at the sneaker deals. Look at those deals now. Why are those sneaker deals? Are these players are getting hundreds of millions of dollars? Because of Michael Jordan. Why is Michael Jordan's sneaker the number one sneaker being sold still to this day? Because he's the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, and first off, it's 6-0 in the finals. It kind of starts and stops there for a lot of us that support Jordan in that argument, because we've watched LeBron fail. Now, Jordan, of course, failed, before he got to the finals in the 80s, but it was literally because the league, teams decided we're just going to be as ridiculously, aggressive. The Pistons, the Knicks later on, taking that Pistons mentality. But really, I mean, if you go back, especially The Last Dance, when you watch that, because I rewatched it too, man, and what they did to him, the Jordan rules. I think there was a 30 for 30 years ago as well called the Jordan rules you can watch. That was just phenomenal, talking about how they would treat Jordan differently, and how it's kind of like, how Shaq would get fouled all the time, and he wouldn't, they wouldn't call it. Jordan had those rules, and until Jordan broke through, they didn't really give him the fouls like that in the 80s. So in the 90s, obviously things changed as he was the senior guy on the circuit and he started winning. But you got to look back at the fight that he had. I don't remember LeBron fighting like that. I just remember his teams kind of sucking around him. I remember the 48 special against Detroit. I remember some really great things he did when he was younger. But at no point in time did you think that, I don't know, I didn't grow up in the 80s like that. I was a baby, but I just can't see them being comparable. And my point earlier was more, just to finish up, was that the guys, Kobe was playing like LeBron, Jordan, and they were in the league together at the same time. No, I don't see LeBron's direct influence on the game in the style that he plays on the younger generation, the same way that Jordan influenced the younger generation. Like I said, who plays like LeBron? Maybe he's just a one of one and no one's going to play like LeBron because he's just so talented, sees the game like magic, has the power of Karl Malone and the talent maybe of Jordan, Close, Kobe, those types of guys. But nobody plays like him. How does he influence the league on the same level as Jordan? I don't think it's an argument still. I think it's Jordan.
Jordan revolutionized the game. And by the way, why does LeBron wear the number 23? Why do you think he wears the number 23? Because his favorite player was Michael Jordan. And how many players right now in the NBA could say or have said that Michael Jordan was their favorite player? Even when they weren't even born. They weren't even born, and they watch clips of Michael Jordan, and they all say he was their favorite player. So that says a lot. I mean, there are people that I know that are big basketball fans that never saw Michael Jordan play at the time where he was the best and the prime player in the NBA. And all of them have told me that Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. And I say, how could you say that? You never saw him play. Oh, I saw clips. What do you mean you saw clips? You never get a chance to see him really play. How dominant he was. What he did for the NBA. Changed the game. Changed everything. He never played in a game 7 in the finals. Never. Never. LeBron James, he lost in the playoffs. He's lost in the finals. Michael Jordan in the finals never went to a game 7. That by itself should tell you something about who he is. I don't know if anybody remembers his final year in 1998. They were down. Yes, they were down with 38 seconds left in that game, in game 6 against Utah. Who do you think brought him back in that game? Who do you think stole the ball and then put the ball in the game-winning shot in that game?
He pushed off on that shot?
What? No. No, absolutely not. He crossed over. He was already falling on his ass. Everybody keeps saying
Probably
he pushed
was.
off. He never pushed off. It's ridiculous. If
It's
you
one of
watch
the
that,
most, it's one of the
he
most
never pushed
amazing
off on him.
plays,
He never did. Ridiculous.
defense to offense in an NBA Finals history. I mean,
Why?
it
Because
has
he
to
had
be.
his hand on his
He
hip.
won it. No,
He had his hand
it's
on his
you
hip.
know I
How
just wanted to
small
bring
is
it up.
Michael? Just think about it. He was smaller than Murray. I think it was Murray, right? Oh no, Byron. Who's the guy he pushed
Russell,
off?
Byron Russell.
Yeah, Byron Russell. That's right. It was Russell.
It was like an inch shorter or something.
Right. Inch shorter and probably 10, 15 pounds lighter. Okay.
More. He was a big guy.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. How are you going to push a guy that's 20 pounds, 25 pounds more than you like that? I mean, seriously, he crossed over. He crossed him over. He was falling on his ass anyways. There was no way he was going to stop Michael Jordan over there. And maybe if he was at the three-point line. Maybe he was at the free throw line. Michael Jordan won't miss a shot like that. And by the way, who cares? They still won the game. They shouldn't have won that game. Michael Jordan was one of the greatest two-way players we've ever seen. Okay? Ever seen. He won. You'll never see this. He won Defensive Player of the Year in the same year, the MVP in the same year, and the All-Star MVP in the same year. Nobody will ever do that again. Guarantee it. Book it, sell it. And I hated Michael Jordan. I'm a New York Knicks fan. I couldn't stand him every time he went to Madison Square Garden. And by the way, I got a chance to watch Michael Jordan. And you know what he scored in that game? 49 points against the New York Knicks. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in the nosebleeds. I was, 13 years old with my uncle and my two cousins. I couldn't stand the man. But when I look at greatness and I try to compare greatness, when everybody says Muhammad Ali and Wayne Gretzky and this guy and that guy, there's only one. There is only one that I put on my Mount Rushmore, whatever it is. What is it? What do they call that?
Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore, whatever it is. The only one that I put up there. It is Michael Jordan. No Babe Ruth. No Mickey Mantle, no DiMaggio, none of those baseball players, Ted Williams, none of them. Michael Jordan is the greatest athlete to ever play the game. Any game.
I don't think people realize, a younger generation, PD, I don't know if you know this one, but I remember playing, I had a video game. It was like Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City. It was a terrible video game for like Super Nintendo. But you have to understand, he was so thorough in the culture of this country in a way that nobody ever else was. Even LeBron, who I would say was close, but never like that. He took over. I mean, he was everywhere. I'm about 5 years younger than you, Errol, a little less than that. I grew up with Michael Jordan. You know, there's lunch boxes everywhere. When he came on live TV on a primetime game, it was a real event. People went out of their way to watch the numbers that he would get. No one's come close. It's not really an argument if you think about just the impact that he had compared to LeBron.
I don't care what Scottie Pippen says either, by the way. Scottie Pippen's an idiot. The fact that he even comes out and by the way, on the Last Dance, he says, "Oh, I played with the greatest coach and I had the greatest player on my roster." Now, all of a sudden, because his son Marcus was messing around with his ex-wife, he thinks that LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time. Get off it, Scotty. Stop it, Scotty. You were one of the best number two. You were one of the best Robins we've ever seen. And for you to come out and throw Michael Jordan under the bus like that, shame on you, man, because I know you don't believe that. I know you don't believe that. So that's ridiculous. But anyways, when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we have Wes for Let's Parlay. But first, Tommy Scoops, our Sports Minute.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. As promised, I am back with an update because this is the Loudmouth Sports Minute. The man Tommy Scoops with you guys all at top of the hour. And for today's report right now, in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins are expected to re-sign Elijah Campbell. The cornerback, who was actually expected to hit free agency this season, is actually going to be returning to Miami on a one-year deal. Shifting over to another bit of news, The former Pittsburgh Steelers offensive tackle, Jakuma Okafor, is going to be signing with the New England Patriots. Gerard Mayo, who actually didn't have the best, the New England Patriots, who didn't have the best offensive line last season, looks to rebuild under Gerard Mayo, adding the Okafor, who has plenty of starting experience. Switching over right now, the Seattle Seahawks are working on a deal with defensive tackle Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams, who was acquired mid-season last season by the New York Giants in a trade, is actually trying to get back on the team before free agency actually hits. Switching over into the NBA, the Denver Nuggets, current reigning NBA champion, the Denver Nuggets, are actually canceling their White House visit to be focused more on the NBA season. They're currently focused on the Timberwolves matchup on March 19th and looking to get to the number 1 seed heading into the NBA playoffs. Right now, we've just confirmed that Tyrese Maxey is going to be out tomorrow against the Pelicans. He is actually dealing with a concussion injury, and this is actually going to be his 3rd game that he is missing. So, speedy recovery for Tyrese Maxey. Now, time for 2 scoops of scores. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the scores going on right now. And currently, Brooklyn is losing 1 point, 76-75 to the Pistons. Right now, Minnesota has a 66-62 lead over the Pacers. And right now, at halftime, Miami is currently up against Dallas, 58-54. Switching over into the NHL, just started in the second period. Boston is currently up 2-1 against Toronto, with Calgary holding a 4-2 lead over Tampa Bay. Currently, right now, Philadelphia and Florida are currently tied up at 1-1 apiece. Right now, New Jersey has a 3-1 lead over St. Louis, with Washington having a 4-0 lead over Pittsburgh. That is currently all the time I have for you guys right now. I'm going to set it back over to the boys for Let's Parlay.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. No Sean Smith tonight, but no problem. Well, hopefully it's no problem. As you know, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings of all our shows, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Michael Jordan, I know Worldwide West is a Chicago fan and grew up with the great Michael Jordan. When we have been arguing with LeBron James' greatness, we will get into that. But first, we call this segment Let's Parlay.
It's time for Let's Parlay.
We have the return of Worldwide West. Ladies and gentlemen, he is back. And I know he's going to give you some winners. Worldwide West, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, fellas? It's been a few weeks.
Yes, it has been. You look good, man. I like the yellow on you. And
Thanks.
by the way, Bitcoin is up 69,000, buddy. You were right.
Yeah.
You were right. 70,000, you said.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I could talk for hours about that, but man, it's been a great run, and it's going to continue. So.
It will, and then it'll drop again, and that's what always happens. It goes up, and then it'll go down, and that's when you jump on it again, and then it'll go up again. And so when it goes back down to 30,000 or 28,000, it will. It always does. That's when you snag. That's when you snag them. So, but we're not here to talk about Bitcoin or the stock market. Your thoughts to Michael Jordan and LeBron James?
You know, I grew up in Chicago, and you know, there's an argument that if you never saw MJ play, you know, you kind of lean towards LeBron, and the stats are there that to support LeBron. But there was beyond the stats. Well, to start with, the game, it was completely different. It was way more physical. It was far lower scoring, and the 3-ball was not a part of the game the way that it is today. There were a few guys in MJ's era that could shoot the 3, but I don't even think that those guys in today's game would be shooting 3-pointers consistently with some of like the average 3-point shooters that we have. Like like back then there was Stockton, Legler was a 3-point shooter. The Bulls had Steve Kerr, but people forget Steve Kerr was like the 7th or 8th option. He went in to get Ron Harper some rest. And so the game was very different. It was way more physical. I don't know what LeBron would look like in a game that was physical like that. And the Hall of Famers that Jordan beat along the way to all of those runs, forget the fact that he beat Hall of Famers, because I think LeBron has gone against and beat some Hall of Famers too. I mean, but those guys were way more physical. Like I think of some of the battles, like the Bulls and what they did against some of those really intense, physical, bad boy Knicks teams. But there was, beyond the stats and the results on the court, and I like that you dropped he's never seen a game 7 in the finals, but there was this feeling that he's going to do it. And LeBron doesn't give you that feeling. Like you can't describe it unless you lived through it, unless you watched it. I mean, statistically, Wayne Gretzky is in a world of his own. I mean, I think there's a stat out there, like if you took all his goals away, he would still be the points leader. So, but just in terms of greatness and the feeling and the culture that existed around the game because of Jordan, and he went out there and did it. I mean, he backed up every bit of hype that was out there, and he never lost the finals. And there's an argument that they would have 8-peated had he not farted around in baseball for 2 seasons.
9-peated, because if they came back in 99 in that short season, they probably win that year too. And he even said that in The Last Dance. He came out and he said, I was at the prime of my career, and I was a different player. I was not only I had the ability, the athletic ability, I had the brains to really continue being that player that I was.
And there's no doubt that there were injuries that did not make the media that MJ played through. There was no load management. There was no power like LeBron has, moving to teams and setting up big three. I mean, good for LeBron. I mean, he changed the game in terms of player mobility and the options that they actually have. And it's cool to watch. But the load management, I just can't stand it. And as a fan, and now with sports betting everywhere, anytime you are attempting to bet an NBA game, you have to really understand the roster and who's playing and who's not. And I don't even know how many games LeBron has played. Like he played in the All-Star game, then didn't play the very next regular season game, which actually has meaning in the standings. MJ would never do stuff like that. And there's more to what makes the GOAT than just simply the stats and the championships too. But
Michael Jordan also wasn't political. He wouldn't go out there and speak anything but basketball. He didn't want to get in the limelight. And by the way, could you imagine if social media was around when Michael Jordan played? Could you imagine? I mean, he would be even bigger of a superstar.
What was his big quote? They buy Nikes too.
Yes.
But that was his focus. He was selling shoes, and he was Gatorade. He was Be Like Mike. I mean, people listened to the song that was created for a commercial because they liked the jam.
I agree with you. I think Michael Jordan changed everything. I mean, basketball sneakers became a style. It wasn't just basketball sneakers. I didn't want to buy Nikes or Jordans just because it was, I was playing basketball. I bought it because it matches. Those sneakers are hot. They match with my shirt. They match with my hat. He changed the style. He changed everything. He became the it factor in fashion and everything.
He did. And if you start to look at other sports and like who those GOATs are, I mean, Tom Brady's the GOAT quarterback. He's definitely not the GOAT football player. I suppose the trendy thing to do is throw Mahomes into the conversation. But you start to look at these GOATs across sports. Like, I think Tiger Woods earlier in his career, there's probably a legit conversation because he became a little bit of a cultural icon. I mean, he brought a group of people that weren't accepted on golf courses to enjoy the game. He brought golf to Nike. But
how about Dale Earnhardt? How about Dale Earnhardt? What he did for NASCAR? I mean, nobody watched. I know NASCAR is so big worldwide. I mean, it's definitely down south. But Dale Earnhardt, when he was in NASCAR before he died, I mean, it was at its all-time high. It was unbelievable how. I mean, Dale Jarrett and him, they would go at it with each other. He was fantastic. He was the face of NASCAR.
Michael Jordan was so much the GOAT.
So I think he froze.
In 2020, he somehow became the GOAT again. and the number one trending viral search on social media in 2020, decades after he won his last championship. And there's
His
more to it.
crying memes is the number one meme in professional sports.
There's
crying. He made a joke when Kobe passed away. He brought up the whole meme thing.
Yeah, there's a lot more to being the GOAT than just simply scoring 40,000 points and having all those stats and chasing some rings and load managing. And LeBron is too, for sure. I mean, what he's done on the court, a lot of it will never get repeated. I'm not LeBron bashing at all. There is a real argument, but there's more to being the GOAT than just simply the statistics. What Michael Jordan consumed the entire sports world and still does to some degree. It's 2024, and we're debating who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. That won't happen for LeBron in 20 years.
Michael Jordan hasn't played in 24 years, and they're still speaking about him. That says a lot about who he is and what he really did for not only basketball, but for professional sports and fashion. He's everything.
I would argue that Steph Curry, and I know you don't like him, but Steph Curry's impact on the game has changed the NBA and more than anything LeBron has done. The way that he shoots threes, we now want to see the 3-point contest on the All-Star skills competition. And we take a dump all over the slam dunk contest. Players everywhere are shooting threes. Scores are at an all-time high. Steph did that. Little kids that are playing at the park or in the gym are trying to shoot threes. They're not trying
and you know this, Wes, and before we get into Let's Parlay, I will say this. When I watched Michael Jordan play, I wanted to watch every second, every minute when he was on the court because he was going to do something we've never seen before. Every time he was on the court. And by the way, we didn't have the NBA package. You didn't get, if you weren't in Chicago, you were in Chicago. So you had a chance to watch all the games. But if you're here in New York, you didn't get a chance to watch Michael Jordan play in every single game. And to me, every time he was on the court, and he, by the way, played 82 games. He came out and said it. He knew that everybody was coming to see him. He wanted to make sure that no matter what, hurt, limping, he was going to go out there and he was going to play, and he was going to make sure that every single fan got a chance to see him play. Yep. Michael Jordan changed the game, and that's why Michael Jordan is the greatest. Because LeBron James, he don't do that. What does he play? 58, averages 58 games a game every season. He doesn't play 82 games in a season because it's a different game.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, let's go, Wes.
There is no disconnect in this conversation.
No. And by the way, I hated Michael Jordan. Absolutely couldn't stand the man. But when I go back and I watch that guy, I watch Wayne Gretzky play at the top of his career. I mean, I'm 41 years old. I mean, Wayne was great in the 80s and I was a baby. But when I started really watching hockey when I was 6 years old, it was like 86, 87. I mean, I got a chance to watch Wayne Gretzky at the top of his game too. And Michael Jordan was drafted in 84?
Yes.
So I saw Michael Jordan when I started really watching basketball in 88. I saw Michael Jordan really develop into the player that he was. I saw Michael Jordan play. I could say that I saw the greatest athlete to ever play professional sports. I don't care what anybody says. Couldn't stand the man, but I respect the man, and I know what he did for the game of basketball. I know what he did for professional sports. So shame on anybody putting LeBron James in the same comparison to Michael Jordan. Yeah. Now, let's get into it. Let's parlay with Wes, baby.
Okay, so I look at the Saturday college games. I'm full college right now. I'm keeping half of my eye on the NHL. I'm not giving out NHL picks yet. I think it would be reckless at this point because I want to give out winners. But I'm all college basketball. I have been for weeks. It's been buying me Bitcoins left and right. I mean, I'm cashing out almost every day. It's been intense. But the challenge I have right now is Saturday's point spreads are not available. So I'm going to give some money line plays for Saturday. And, if it's good odds, bad odds, great. I think one of these plays is going to be a dog. So I'll just give that first. I'm looking at Tennessee against Kentucky. Kentucky does not know how to play defense. This is wild to me for a Coach Cal team. Tennessee plays defense, but not much. Tennessee beat Kentucky in the last game that they played. Really, the only reason Kentucky won this most previous game, not against Tennessee, was just simply because they happened to be ahead when the clock said 0. But if the game went on long enough, the gap would have been closed. It's really embarrassing, the lack of defense. But I think that this game means more to Kentucky in terms of gaining some ground. This is a hard weekend because tournaments are coming, and the results of the tournament means more than what actually happens in this rivalry type scenario. So Tennessee's spot in that tournament is locked in. And I'm going to take Kentucky, and I'm taking them money line. I think that I'm taking Kentucky money line. I think that when the spread comes out, Tennessee is probably going to be a 3.5 or a 4-point favorite. So I would encourage anybody listening to take some points too. But I do like Kentucky to win outright. I think these teams are close enough to where they split this year in the head-to-head. So I'm going to take Kentucky money line. And if they're dogs, it's probably going to be a plus 160 scenario. Get a little bit of plus money.
All right. Give us your number 2, buddy.
Number 2, I'm going to take Houston. Houston's going up against Kansas, and the last time they played was at Lawrence. Kansas was completely healthy. Now, I would tell you, the Jayhawks are the NBA team in Kansas City. So all my friends, family, they're holding hands on the Rock Chalk Jayhawk. I don't like or dislike KU. I just know the team pretty well. They tend to play with their food early in the game. There's a couple teams that do that, and they do. There's a small opportunity with them where they typically go down early. They owned Houston the last time they played. All of Lawrence was chanting overrated. Houston is the best team in the country. I think they've been the best team in the country all year. They're now, these last 3 or 4 weeks, starting to tie it all together. Houston-UConn is not even a matchup as far as I'm concerned. I would lay as many as 7 on Houston in that game. This is a little bit of a revenge game. I think that Kansas may be favorite, but I don't think that there's going to be a lot of points. I'm taking Houston money line. I love what their shooters are doing on the outside. And the deal with Houston, which makes them so amazing, is they're averaging. They're the number 1 defense in the country. The amount of points they allow kind of goes back and forth if that number is 1, 2, or 3. But if you don't make your shots and you're not good from the perimeter on any given day against Houston, you are not getting that ball back. Majority of the time, if that shot doesn't fall, it's going in Houston's hands. Where there's teams out there that Houston has played that's very good on the rebounding side of things, on the offensive rebounding side, it just most of the time you're not getting the ball if you don't make it. So teams try and work their way closer to the rim, and that doesn't work either. And Houston's starting to get really good around the perimeter. So I'm taking Houston. I don't think it'll be close against Kansas. This is a really odd, broken Kansas team with probably the best starting 5 in the country that can't seem to pull it together. I don't know what Bill Self has going on there.
Selection Sunday, baby. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be fun.
I think it's going to be fun. This is a fun tournament we got coming up.
Wide open.
Some of these last in teams like Gonzaga wouldn't have been in the tournament a month ago, and they've had some big wins, convincing wins, found their way into the rankings. It's going to be a fun tournament. You guys know I've been fanboying Seton Hall most of the year. Yes. They're one of the last 4 in. They can beat anybody in the country if they get going.
Oh, well, I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I'm a Duke fan, and we all know I'm not a big Shire fan. So
I know the Seton Hall head coach is the Peacock coach.
No, let's not get into the whole cock thing.
No, not Gamecocks. The Peacocks of St. Peter's.
I'm so out of the cock thing. Okay, and I'm not trying to be disgusting or something like that. It's just listen to the Gamecock thing when we have Sean on the show. How many Gamecocks have we had on this show? I mean, seriously, it seems like every week we have a Gamecock. I mean, Speedy, are you a Gamecock?
I am not.
All right. Well,
their basketball team has played a lot better than expected this year.
Hey, I'm about to switch devices because my computer is going to make me reload.
Okay.
So please let me in.
Yes, absolutely. We still have 2 more picks for Worldwide Wes, and when he comes back, ladies and gentlemen, which he is.
Yep, there he is.
There he is. He's back again. He's no more Worldwide Wes. He's just Wes.
Well, I was trying to get back in quick. So
I got you.
All
So
right.
we still need your 3 and your 4, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna give number 3 as a Friday night play. I'm gonna lay the 2.5 on Miami, Ohio. Or I'm sorry, on Ohio. They're playing against Miami. I'm not gonna get too much into details about two teams that nobody really cares about, but Ohio can just flat out score more points, and yeah, they're kind of a dark horse in this MAC tournament coming up.
All right. Give us your final pick, your parlay of the week.
So in this game, I will take points if it's anything above 6, but I'm going to lay. So full disclosure, this is a quarter unit money line, but it will be it'll be the remaining 3/4 unit once I see the points. But I am going to take Texas Tech against Baylor. This game means more to Tech than it does to Baylor. And again, I know I said this about Kansas, so I'm just going to beat this cliche to death, but Baylor plays with their food. They don't put teams away. They let them get ahead early. They set up weird comebacks. And that's a dangerous way to live for a team that is very dependent on the 3. College is odd when it comes to 3 points because these teams, like you watch the NBA and they just take a shot, and the teams don't seem to spend as much time trying to work out the perfect shot. And in college they do, and Baylor just lets teams stay in games. And going to Lubbock against Texas Tech, it could burn them. And Baylor again is a team that their position in the Big 12 tournament, which I'll be at a couple of those games. I'll send you guys pictures.
Yes.
But Baylor's position in the Big 12 tournament is secure. I think that their focus is on Kansas, potentially Houston if they get to that point. K-State is no easy out. They just simply play in a very tough conference. We just learned last night that Central Florida is not really an easy out. So I like Texas Tech, a little bit of money line action, and I like them. Any points over 6, I would call that a gift. I think this is going to be really close. Baylor's not going to care.
There are your picks right there. He's posting it up, baby.
There you go. Before we
Fish
wrap,
is posting it up. Look at that, man.
Wes, your first betting graphic that you end up getting. Very nice.
I love it. I even got an MJ goat in there too.
That's right. Before we wrap up this segment, Chaz couldn't be here tonight in person, but did send over some horse plays. So tomorrow at the whatever event's at Turfway Park on Friday, he's got Gettysburg Address. Then he's got 3 for Saturday, 2 in the Tampa Bay Downs meet. He's got No More Time and Domestic Product. And then at the Fairgrounds meet on Saturday, Hayes Strike. And then on Sunday at Gulfstream Park, he's got Classic Legacy.
Chaz, he's been horsing around, and he does this. He does this every year at this time. Him and I both share an interest in horses. And it's really cool to watch these races. It's kind of like watching the regular season in college basketball. By the time the tournament rolls around, you know who's in it, and you have some history. And it's kind of that way with all these Kentucky Derby prep races. And Chaz studies far out. Like, don't try and talk with him during the Breeders' Cup. Like, he's in a zone, and he's been pretty good at these Kentucky Derby futures. The dude knows his way around a horse form.
You know, it's so funny. Speedy likes horses too, right, Speedy? But for the wrong reasons.
I don't like horses. I haven't rode a horse since I was a kid.
Well, the horse has ridden you.
No, it hasn't. I would know if I got stampeded by a horse.
Is that what we're calling it? Stampeded?
So if there was any violent action being done to by a horse, it would be that.
Well, maybe he's violently doing something to you.
Yeah, and I would know if it happened.
Stampeding. It sounds like something my wife would slap me for asking.
Wes, do you think if you got run over by a horse, there would be pain?
Well, I think that Errol is inferring a different type of run over.
That's yeah, I definitely am.
I'm just saying. I think that's what he's saying. I don't care what you do in your personal life.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the horse is long enough to get to him. That's for sure.
Where does one find a horse in New York?
Well, I mean, there's quite a few places. I mean, there's one right over there by the UBS Arena.
I mean, are we talking about sneaking into Aqueduct?
Oh, well, listen, we'll strap Speedy to a chair or a table, and we'll let a horse, take his time with him. What do you think, Speedy?
I don't care. Why would I care about doing that with a horse?
With a horse.
If I was this much of a horse enthusiast, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
You think horses are beautiful, don't you?
That's different than wanting to be stampeded by them.
Petey, will you say stampeded again?
Stampeded.
Ooh, wow. That's exciting.
Are you
Honey,
getting aroused?
Petey won't stop saying
I will.
stampede.
I'll say these random shenanigans for Wes because he doesn't get to encounter it once in a while. You sometimes overblow it.
I'm just enjoying it. Will you say stampede one more time so my wife can hear you?
All right. For Wes's wife, stampede.
I'm just messing with you. My wife is traveling. She's singing this weekend.
Speedy, could you sing for us?
No.
I think you would scare all the horses away.
I'm not trying to sing for a bunch of horses.
You know, I once got kicked off of Bourbon Street because I chased a police horse and smacked it on the tuchus.
Oh, Speedy, I think you would like to smack a horse.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, what would you think a horse would do?
I don't know, and I don't care.
I mean, every time I've seen it, you smack a horse, they kick you back or something.
No, it did. It reared up, and it was the cop was on the horse. He grabbed me. He grabbed me by the shirt and dragged me around the corner. Thank goodness all the people around had cameras on me. Like everybody pulled out their phones, ripped all the buttons out of my shirt. Like I thought I was going down. Again, I had one too many 151 frozen drinks.
Speedy, how about why don't we get like Tyreek Hill and one of those guys to race a horse? Do you think he could beat a horse in a race?
In a spurt, yes. I would say in a spurt, yes. My dog could beat a horse in a spurt. Horses over distance. Like I say that because I have greyhounds and they can run 40 plus miles an hour in a spurt. And
Really?
if you were to take the greyhounds run 5/16 of a mile race or 3/8 or 7/16. And if you were to do the math, like between 29 and 32 seconds is about what a 5/16 of a mile is. And if you were to put the math together, that is faster than what a Derby horse runs a mile.
But that's what I said about. I agree with you because that's what I said about Connor McDavid. If you do that with his speed, he's going almost 70 miles per hour. I mean, seriously, with his speed and the way he skates, how fast he is, I absolutely believe he would go 70 miles per hour. Now, Speedy, I just have one more question for you with the horse situation, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you had a chance, okay, to sit on a horse, all right, sit on top of a horse and ride it, what horse of the last 20 years would you like to ride?
Ooh,
I will consult Chaz on that one.
No, I'm serious. And what? Go ahead. What would you like to ride? I mean, Speedy likes to ride many different things,
But my all-time favorite horse was a horse named Cigar. Won the 95 Breeders' Cup. That was my all-time favorite horse.
Speedy, would you let Cigar ride you?
No, but I will ride Cigar for Wes.
Ooh, look at that stampede. I mean, that's sad though. That looks like Mufasa about to die Lion King.
No, it looks like it looks like a 19th century painting or something.
Look at this.
Wow.
You should have put Speedy in the middle of it. No, you should have put him in the middle.
That looks like what the Bulls would do to LeBron's Lakers.
That's right.
You should get Speedy on the back of this stampede.
I would be dead by then, but okay.
Oh, Wes, we love you as always.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. We want you and Derek on at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Love your show, and always be cashing, guys.
There you go. Jordan for president, okay? He's going to run against Biden and Trump. What do you think about that? I would definitely like to hear Garrett's thoughts on, Michael Jordan run for president. I know he's not a political person. Speedy, would you vote for Michael Jordan?
Sure, why not?
Then again, Speedy, you don't like President Biden? Do you like?
I don't care, and I'm not dealing with this now when we have a guest with. I'm not giving political views.
I'm just kidding. All right. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to 8-year MLB first baseman and outfielder, our friend Garrett Jones. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
Once again, as promised, I am back at the top of the hour with the Loudmouth Sports Minute. I'm the man, the myth, the legend, Tommy Scoops, to give you guys all the rundown. And right now in the NFL, the Dolphins just announced that they are going to be signing defensive tackle Davion Nixon. Nixon, who hasn't played for a team since the Seattle Seahawks in 2022, is actually looking to add depth to the Miami's defensive line. The Chiefs have just signed linebacker Drew Tranquil. The team actually just acquired Tranquil last season, and he won his first Super Bowl with the team. He's going to be looking to run it back and do a three-peat with the Chiefs next season. Seattle Seahawks general manager John Schneider said he is open for a return from Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, and tight end Will Dissly. The three players who were just released the other day on Tuesday, Schneider said that he is open for a return down the road. In NBA news, the Atlanta Hawks forward, Jalen Johnson, is going to be out for tomorrow's game. Against the Grizzlies, Johnson did not travel to Memphis to go take on the Grizzlies as he is dealing with an ankle injury. And now it's going to be time for Scoops to Scores, where I'm going to give you a quick rundown of all the NBA and NHL scores going on right now. We're currently, in a surprising move, the Detroit Pistons are actually leading the Brooklyn Nets 107-98, almost a 10-point lead there, while currently Minnesota is currently losing by 2 points, 92-90 against the Pacers, and Miami and Dallas is currently having Dallas leading 74-71 late in the third quarter. Now for some NHL scores, ending at the second period right now, Boston is currently up against Toronto, 4-1. And right now, Calgary currently has a 4-2 lead over Tampa Bay, with the Philadelphia and Florida team. They're both still currently tied up at 1 apiece, with New Jersey holding a 3-1 lead in the third period against St. Louis, and Washington with the 5-0 lead over Pittsburgh. That is currently all the time that I have for you guys as of right now. I'm going to send it back to the boys for their next guest on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Woo! Speedy's again. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, the Speedster, Speedy Petey. No Sean Smith tonight. Thank God. I'm just kidding, Sean. We love you. We love you. No more Gamecocks on the show anymore. I mean, I know Garrett's not a Gamecock. That's good. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And somebody's been waiting, definitely calm and clearing everybody outside of his car. I don't know where he is. He looked like he was in his car, but I guess he's in his house. We are now speaking to 8-year MLB first baseman and outfielder Garrett Jones. Garrett, what's up, buddy?
What's up, fellas? Earl, how you doing?
We're looking good, man. You're looking good. We're looking good. You're looking good. We're all looking good. But I don't know if the Pittsburgh Pirates are looking good right now, as we're going into another season where they signed their big-time pitcher. They have a bunch of good young players coming up, but nothing to brag about in a division that is wide open. What are your thoughts to the Pittsburgh Pirates this offseason?
Well, they didn't make any big moves. They got Cruz coming back. He's going to be healthy. They got Chapman. They signed Chapman. So, I mean, a lot of the young guys are growing up a little bit, another year experience. They're going to be better. Yeah, they didn't make any big moves or spend big money, but that's Pirates' way, But I think they're going to compete. They're going to compete this year. And are they going to compete the way Pittsburgh wants them to? Or are they going to be in the playoffs? I don't know. They have the talent, so we'll see. But it's going to be – I think they're going to be a fun team to watch this year.
Yeah, so what are your impressions so far in what you've seen in spring training of both Henry Davis and Paul Skeens, are the two best upside guys?
Yeah, I've seen a couple Davis bombs. I mean, he's as strong as an ox. I think he keeps improving a catcher. he's going to be a stud. So I mean, that's the thing. We have the talent. We have bats. We have some good pitching, good starting pitching. It's just got to come together. It's got to have these guys mature a little bit, develop, and and compete.
Speaking of talent, the New York Mets have no pitching going into the season. Senga's out for at least a month. We had, I guess, a Mets and Yankees writer on the show yesterday and speaks very highly of the Mets pitching. I don't know why. Quintana's their number one guy right now. What are your thoughts to the Mets and going into the season as Quintana as their number one starter?
Yeah, I haven't followed a whole lot about the Mets, but I mean, if your starting pitching isn't solid, it can be a long year, and they're going to have to get in their bullpen a lot and wear a lot of their bullpen arms out early, and that could be devastating going on later on out in the season. So, you need starting pitching definitely to have a long longevity, last long in the season, and right now it's not looking good on paper, but you never know what could happen.
So what are your thoughts on the deferring money that we've seen the Dodgers do this offseason as a former player yourself? And like you said, with the Pirates, that's completely the opposite, where there's a low market organization.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Dodgers there's I mean, yeah, well, Ohtani's contract, he's making $2 million this year, which I just read. I think Barry Bonds is getting paid $2 million. There's like certain guys, there's guys that have those long contracts that are getting a couple million here and there. But it's impressive. I mean, they made it. It's a good strategy because it made them go sign Yamamoto. They're able to get some other pieces, and they're not spending a bulk of their money it's all invested in Ohtani. So I think it was a smart move, and he's going to get his money regardless. It's just going to be spread out over time a little bit, and the Dodgers are going to be fun to watch.
We are talking to 8-year MLB first baseman and outfielder Garrett Jones, friend of the show. We love him. He's been a very good baseball player in his years in the major leagues and doing well, as he always is. It's so funny. You mentioned Yamamoto, and he has not looked good in spring training. He has been horrible. And we've seen a lot of these Japanese pitchers, they get brought into the major leagues and they fail. And there have been a couple of Japanese pitchers that have been good, Ohtani being one of them. A couple of Yankees have been, pretty good. What are your thoughts to the Japanese pitcher? What are your thoughts to so far what you've seen of Yamamoto?
Oh man, he's got the stuff. I think it could be nerves a little bit. I mean, he dominated so much in Japan, and I mean, Japan's no joke. Those hitters battle; they're good hitters. I mean, he dominated over there, so he might be coming over here a little nervous. Big contract. He's still only 25 years old. Feeling some pressure a little bit. But thing about I've noticed with a lot of Japanese guys, they'll make an adjustment. They will work on it. They'll work on it. They will figure out what they need to do to succeed, and he will make an adjustment. He's got the stuff, he's got the arm, and it'll just be a matter of time. Not spring training, not really too worried about it, but come the season, I think he'll start making some adjustments. He might have some growing pains here and there, but I think he'll be okay. He's got the stuff for sure.
So one of the trends that happened last year, I know last time we had you on the show, you were mentioning you liked a lot of some of the rule changes that were in baseball, but I think that really, it as a whole benefited a lot of the younger teams. As you saw the Rangers and the Diamondbacks go to the World Series, and a lot of other younger teams do well, like the Orioles. You think that kind of trend is going to continue?
With the rule changes? Yeah.
With the rule changes, yeah.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, I think guys coming up there just used to those rules, and older guys had to make the adjustment and kind of stubborn in their ways sometimes. They don't want to change, and so younger guys, I think they're going to be more used to it and adapt better and adapt quicker, and it's just the way it goes.
The New York Yankees added Juan Soto in the offseason in the middle of a lineup that has Aaron Judge now and Giancarlo Stanton, who lost 20 pounds and muscle this offseason, which says he's more limber and he's going to add a little bit more pop to his bat. What are your thoughts to this Yankee lineup now with, I believe, one of the best lineups in baseball?
It's ridiculous. I mean, the fact that Stanton lost 20 pounds, it's all muscle because he didn't have an ounce of fat on the guy. So that's interesting, but I mean, maybe he's stretching more and leaning out just because he's always had those like little tweaks where he pulls a quad, a calf, and all those weird muscles. And it's like, this guy's built like a Greek god, and you're like, what the heck is going on, So maybe that's it. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he's got tremendous power. A guy capable of 50 plus, Judge 50 plus, and then Soto hitting balls in the Yankee Stadium, which the only thing, you could get pole happy being a lefty, seeing that short porch. I was guilty of it every time I went up there. You think you could just flick balls over there. It's not the case when you're facing great pitching. They are pitch you. So, I mean, I think as long as he stays within himself and still is able to drive the ball left center up the middle, he'll get us plenty of home runs to right field. But I think he's 40 plus. So like this lineup is insane.
And here's the funny thing. They added Verdugo, and everybody forgets they added Verdugo. He's very good in Yankee Stadium. He's another left-handed power bat. Now you can, and the Yankees have had this problem for the last couple of years, and this is something that everybody's attacked Brian Cashman over the last couple of years, is they haven't added left-handed power. Now you can go righty-lefty, and completely mix it up. And now you have Juan Soto in the middle of these two behemoths in Judge and Stanton, and you have Gleyber Torres, and you have Verdugo. It is ridiculous. This lineup is ridiculous.
It's insane. Yeah, I mean, on paper, you're like, good God, how can they lose? So, I think if they stay healthy and everybody does their job, and everybody does what they're kind of expected to do within reason, I mean, shoot, the sky's the ceiling. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Dominguez they're saying he could be back very early from that. From an injury like that, the UCL tear, and everybody says, oh, he's not going to be back until August. They're saying he could be back in May, and that guy's a switch hitter, and they call him the alien. Could you imagine going with that outfield? I mean, Dominguez, Verdugo, Grissom, who's a two-time Gold Glove winner, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, it's the best outfielder in baseball. It's not even close.
Right. Again, like I said, like on paper, it's ridiculous. It's going to be exciting to watch. And a guy that I saw just hit a bomb the other day, Spencer Jones.
Fantastic kid.
That dude's got some power and he's got some potential too. So I don't know where he's at in the organization, but yeah, I mean, it's stacked. I mean, I'm going to be watching a lot of Yankee games this year for sure. So
Double A. Spencer is going to start the season in Double A, probably by the end of season Triple A. He will be up sometime next year. He'll be a part of this roster. Whatever happens to Soto, if they bring Soto back, I mean, they're loaded. I mean, loaded.
No
and now they have Aaron Judge for another 8 years, 7 years after next year. But his best years are probably maybe 3 more years. He already came out and said that foot injury will probably be there for the rest of his career, which is crazy. I didn't think it was as bad as everybody thought it was, but he's coming out and saying that he'll never be 100% over there, which is kind of scary when the Yankees gave him $360 million when it came to that injury. So we'll see what happens with that.
Tough. And they got Stroman, and hopefully Stroman's healthy. I mean, that guy's nasty. He can eat up some innings, and they only spent 2 year 30. He got like a 37 million. 2 years, 37 mil. So they didn't spend a lot of money on a guy that could come back and be a really strong pitcher for them as well. So
as long as he shuts his mouth, okay. Yeah. As long as he keeps his mouth quiet. I mean, he comes from my hometown, Patchogue. I'm from Patchogue. I know his family. His brother's going to be some baseball player too. He's going to be drafted in another year or so. I think the kid's 16 years old. Great hitter, sensational defensive player. So I know all about the Stroman family, and their father he's built like an ox. You want to talk about inhuman? I mean, I've watched that guy work out. It is inhuman. When people watch me work out, and I watch this guy is not human. So, and he's a lot bigger than Marcus. Marcus is small. He's like
he's not a huge
5'8",
guy, right.
5'9". You know how big his father is? His father's like 6'2", 6'3". I mean, he's huge. He's a huge man, and his brother's bigger than Marcus too. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see. But yeah, Marcus Stroman. Everybody keeps attacking that move, and I say, what are you attacking it for? It's a cheap move. If it works, he's a fourth starter. If it doesn't work, you still got him on the cheap, and you move him to the bullpen.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. I think it was a great move. Yeah. No doubt.
So we were talking about Brian Cashman earlier, and one of the other storylines this offseason was some of the player relationships, the media relationships he had at the winter meetings and stuff like that. And we had Jabba Chamberlain on our show back in December, and he was saying some interesting things about some of the player relationships with Cashman. What was your connection like with Cashman when you were with the Yankees?
We always got along. I always got along well with him. He was in the clubhouse surprisingly more than I feel like most GMs that I saw with my the teams I played with. But he spent a lot of time in the clubhouse, and I had some good conversations with him and seemed like a good guy. And, I know he's got a lot of pressure on him. He's been in that hot seat for a long time and has had some winners, but, I think he does well. And I mean, maybe some guys rubbed him the wrong way. I think that goes for everybody, but me personally, I had a good relationship with him.
Yeah, well, I could see Brian Cashman loving to hang out in the clubhouse. Speedy likes hanging out in the clubhouse too, but
I've
for
never
other
been in the
reasons.
Yankee Stadium clubhouse.
For
so
other
no.
reasons, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to speak on it on this show, but Speedy just likes to go into clubhouses and look at things, right, Speedy?
Garrett, I've never intruded in any of your clubhouses. I know that. Don't let this guy give you any false ideas.
I love it.
We are talking to 8-year MLB first baseman and outfielder Garrett Jones, friend of the show, fantastic personality. And by the way, he did play for the Yankees for a little while, and he knows a little bit about Brian Cashman. And it's so crazy when we go and look at, GMs, and we're trying to compare GMs. There was a GM that was signed this offseason, last offseason, regular season, in David Stearns with the New York Mets. And there's a lot of questions of what he did in the offseason this year, and he really didn't do nothing. And now you're going, Steve Cohen already came out and said that they're still playing to win. How are they still playing to win when they didn't add anything? They didn't give Pete Alonso that extension. He's going to be up for a free agency next year. Where do they go with this team? And I'm going to tell you this right now. Met fans aren't going to be happy next year if they don't open their pockets, which Steve Cohen, Uncle Stevie, loves to open those pockets. Just didn't do it this year.
Right. Yeah. For whatever reason, who knows? I mean, there's so many reasons why things happen. And maybe they're confident in their team just being healthy for this year. But I mean, it's one of those things.
Don't lie, Garrett. Don't lie. You know the truth. Are you going to be confident with that lineup? Come on, man. That lineup is horrific. That outfield is putrid. Okay, they don't have any offense out there, and their infield. You're going to bet on Lindor again. You're going to hope that Alvarez is going to have the season he had last year. Meanwhile, his rookie season, he looked horrible. And then you're going to bet on the guy that's giving you 45 home runs and over 120, 130 RBIs every single season since he's been up, and you're not going to give him an extension. Shame on Steve Cohen. Right. Shame on that David Stearns. He's not David Stern that was the commissioner of basketball. He's David Stearns who got let go or decided to part ways with the Milwaukee retards, okay? And that's what they are. They're retarded. I'm sorry.
You're right. I mean, if you're gonna do anything, extend Alonso would be my opinion in that. And and at least you got your big guy, you got your big horse signed up, and he's there, and he's going to stay there. But well, maybe inflation got them too. Who knows? Maybe they're holding on some extra.
Do you know, Garrett? Do you know how much Uncle Stevie made last year?
Oh God, I don't even know how much.
$4.5 billion. Do you really think that man is crying about how much he pays the players? I mean, honestly. Right. Sign Pete Alonso this offseason and then go after Juan Soto. Now, you're not going to get both guys because now Ragazzo already said it. He should have signed him this offseason and then go after Juan Soto. Now, you're going to have to pay Juan Soto $600 million and then pay Pete Alonso $300. That's $900 million for two players. This isn't deferred money. This isn't the Dodgers.
Right. Yeah. No, it's interesting. I'd love to sit in one of those meetings and be like, what, the before spring training, the all winter, what are they talking about and what moves are they trying to make? Like, I wish I could have sat in there and been like, what are you guys doing here? And apparently nothing, but it showed up as nothing. So
Garrett, you played with Starling Marte. If you have any tips on how to keep him healthy too, that would be helpful.
Marte's another freak. I mean, that dude has 2% body fat and has always been a great athlete and a great dude and takes care of himself. But it's like one of those things. It's almost like when you're too ripped, it causes these little nagging injuries, and it's for whatever reason. But no, I mean the guy takes care of himself well. It's just like some guys are just prone, or some guys just get injured more than others. And there's guys that bad bodies and look like they're out of shape that never get hurt, and then guys that are built like Greek statues, have all these little weird injuries, and you're like, how does that happen? But baseball, man, maybe baseball is a different kind of grind, and for whatever reason.
It's the Mets. They always have players that are too ripped, aka Noah Syndergaard, who love to work out in the offseason, get to 230 pounds, but then he gets hurt in the first month of the season.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean it's baseball. I remember that I loved lifting weights in the offseason. I just get as big as I can, and I started out running because I'm like, I just want to get as big as I can, hit the ball
For your wife. For your wife.
And
Don't lie, Garrett.
What's that?
For your wife. Don't lie.
Yeah, right. I want to look good
for your wife.
Spring training, when I go to the beach, I at least want to look good. And then, but I'd drop weight throughout the season just to start running around. But, I would be stiff and my hamstrings be tight. And I'm like, I should have ran this off season more and should have done this. But, I was, at least my forearms were big for, TV.
Well, you said a word. You mentioned a word that Speedy absolutely loves, and that's stiff. So that's a good thing, right, Speedy?
I don't know where you gets this context. I know you were hearing some of the end of our betting segment with our friend Wes joking around with the horses. Because meanwhile, I haven't rode a horse since I was a kid, so he thinks I have context for everything when I don't.
I love it. That's awesome.
There he is.
There he is, bro.
That's good.
Bro.
That was a good one. That's good, Fish. I like that one.
So Garrett, don't you think that looks like a 19th century painting combined with modern graphics?
Yeah, it's a good one for sure. That's a key.
This is what our executive producer likes to bring up. It was a slight downgrade over what he did yesterday when Errol and Sean Smith are going to have their duel of workouts.
First of all, Garrett, you're a former professional athlete, and we've had Sean Smith is a part of our show every Wednesday. He's a 10-time veteran in the NFL. He's now, he's retired. He still weighs 330 pounds. Okay. And this man had the audacity to tell me that I am flabby. Meanwhile, I'm all muscle. I don't have any flab on my body. This man looks like he's got too many marshmallows on his body. Okay. He's eating too many Oreo cookies, and he's not having 1 or 2 sleeves. He's probably eating 4 or 5 every day. Okay. Right. And he's attacking me. Okay. Attacking me and telling me I'm doing steroids or doing other things. And I just said, listen, man, you look like a Sasquatch. Okay. If I was looking for Bigfoot, I would have found him a long time ago if I knew Sean Smith. Okay. There he is right there smoking his weed.
Oh, nice.
So thank you. There he is. Enjoying his Dutch over there. Oh, there he is. And they're trying to pretend that I'm some Jersey Shore idiot. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I deal with every single show, every Wednesday, that piece of what. But anyways,
and Garrett, to put it in perspective too, Sean has the Kansas City Chiefs logos all around him. See, like you take pride in the Pirates because you played there most of your career. Sean only played 2 years with the Chiefs, but he won't represent the other teams he played with longer.
He played with the Bengals 4 years, and he's a Chiefs fan. Yeah. I'm telling you, that guy is eating too many porcupines or something. I mean, he's eating too much paint chips or something. I mean, that guy is out of his damn mind. By the way, I mean, he smokes. How many different foods did he eat on the show last night? He had ice cream, he had cookies, he had gum. I mean, anything he could stick in his mouth.
And last week he made a run to Shake Shack.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I like Shake Shack. I mean, Garrett, you got to come out here. We'll go to a Met game and I'll take you to Shake Shack in Citi Field. That is wonderful. Watching a baseball game and eating some of that.
Oh yeah, Shake Shack. I have Shake Shack 10 minutes from me, and it's literally 10 minutes from my house, and to have Shake Shack and watch the baseball, that sounds like a good day.
I mean, you're a complete winner, my friends. We love you as always. How's your son's baseball team?
It's good. He's good. He had his appendix out a few weeks ago, but
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was a crazy thing, but no, he's good. 6th grade baseball, 12U, and he's doing good. He's thriving. I think he's going to be I see a lot of pitching potential. He's like, pitch is okay, but he's got a lot better arm than I ever had, and he's got some potential there. Hitting's come along, but it's fun. It's fun, and then me and him are gonna go to Joe Mauer's Hall of Fame induction this summer, so that'll be a lot of fun too.
Well deserved, but we've kind of matched Joe Mauer's numbers to Don Mattingly. Why hasn't baseball and the Hall of Fame inducted our friend Don Mattingly into the Hall of Fame? What a disgusting thing they have done to Donnie baseball.
If you would have asked me, is Mattingly in the Hall of Fame, I probably would have said yes. Like I would just assume so. Like I don't even that doesn't even make sense. He's not. Wow.
Yeah.
Give me one of your bats, okay? I'll line all those riders up, and I'll take my swings after their heads. Okay? I mean,
Yeah.
Speedy, you could bring your stiffy out.
No, I'm not involved in this. You know who would be involved in this is our friend Ryan Spader.
That's true too. Ryan's a good guy, man. I like Ryan. And by the way, my question to you first, and we've had a lot of my final question, I'm sorry, because I have to go. My final question to you is, do you believe, and I've asked a lot of ex-professional baseball players this question, do you believe steroids should be allowed in baseball?
I don't. Oh, well, okay. As a fan, yes. As a fan, I think it'd be exciting. I mean, just behemoths, going crazy. But I think it does take away from a lot of good players that or even an okay player that does steroids could be a great player then. And then a great player that does steroids can be superhuman. I don't know. That's a weird question. I would say no. I got to say no on that, just because I just feel like
you're one of the first that said no. I'm surprised.
Because I just feel like there's such an advantage, and there's too many downside. Like, I mean, you take steroids, you're going to have to be on like testosterone the rest of your life. Like, it's very unhealthy for your body, for one. So like, if I'm like, say there's a healthy guy, or if I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this naturally, but like everybody around me's on steroids, and I just literally can't compete unless I get on the stuff. It's like, now I got to damage my body. I get done playing baseball, and now I have to be on testosterone and whatever else could be wrong with my heart and these things that cause damage. So I would say no. I can't say yes to that. No.
I just want to let you know, in the 50s and 40s and the 60s, they were doing amphetamines. So, and that's even more cheating than steroids, because that makes you concentrate better. So,
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's stuff. I mean, there's tons of stuff out there that, I mean, winter ball, they'd have like super strong coffee that would just, lock you in for the day. Those night games, the day games, and they get you going. And that's the grind. That's steroids. That's all it would do is help you recover for those night to day games and the recovery factor.
That's why I think it's
like, you think Judge on steroids is going to be hitting 600-foot homers? Like, I just think he'd recover better. He'd be locked in better. He'd feel 100% every day. Be feeling great, and that's what steroids do more than anything else, I think, in baseball especially.
Fish, our executive producer, said he has a friend that has a question as well. Is the home run that was shown when you hit the ball in the water against the Reds your favorite home run of your career? And if not, what is?
The one in the river. Yeah, that probably one of the ones. Well, probably my walk off Arthur Rhodes, the lefty. From the Cardinals. He owned me, man, and I hated facing him. And I had a tough at bat off him, and I choked up, and he just hung me his slider just enough, and I hit it out, and it was a walk off, and that one felt pretty darn good to just get him, finally, and came at a clubhouse, just pumped up from that. But
just so you know, you mentioned another favorite word for Speedy, hung. So you got hung and stiff. So you got two great words right there.
Nice.
I mean, this is perfect for you, Speedy. Two of your favorite words.
Garrett, if he ever publishes a dictionary, don't buy it.
I love it. I love it. Good stuff, Speedy. We love it.
Oh, we do love it. Speedy, you love it. Come on, Speedy. Put a smile on your face.
I am.
Okay.
I could say a lot more good words for you, Speedy, anytime.
Oh, you do it so organically. I love it.
Right,
you
right,
should be my dictionary, Garrett Jones dictionary. It's a perfect, selling tactic right here, Speedy. I mean, and you got your two favorite words in this show right here, hung and stiff. I mean, this is perfect.
Yeah.
maybe we need the dictionary of Jones. You mentioned Spencer Jones earlier. We had Jock Jones on last week.
Oh, nice.
Maybe we need maybe we need the dictionary of Jones mentioned on the show.
Yeah, well, Jones. Actually, there is underwear named Jones. Speedy.
Okay, and of course that's where you go to.
There's a whiskey. I found a whiskey out of New York that's Jones too, or bourbon. I think it's whiskey.
It's whiskey. It's whiskey.
I might need that more times he mentions underwear.
Underwear and then a little whiskey underwear. Yeah, wherever that goes.
I mean, what's better than Jones, stiff, and hung?
It flows nicely. There you go.
It definitely flows perfectly. Just make sure you keep it PG-13 for all the kids out there. Anyways, we love you, Garrett. Keep up the good work. We'll get it. We'll be in touch with you when the season starts, and love to talk more baseball with you, bud.
You guys as well. Take care, guys. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Garrett Jones, 8-year MLB first baseman, was a Yankee, Pittsburgh Pirate, had a great career. Anybody that's in baseball for 8 years, it's not easy staying up there with the big leagues. And it's fantastic when you get these guys on, Jock Jones, all these guys. And when you speak about their careers, I'm going to tell you this. Staying up in the big leagues in baseball is the hardest in all sports. It's not even close. It's not even close. I'm telling you right now, because you got to go from single A to double A to triple A and then stay in the show. It's not easy, guys. I'm telling you right now. How many people we've seen being called up and being brought down? And Jones was up there 8 years, so a fantastic career. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to the Gameday NFL draft analyst, our friend Michael Rochman. But first, the Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
It's been a good show, ladies and gentlemen. It's just going to get better because I am Tommy Scoops with the Loudmouth Sports Minute as usual, of course. And for right now, Scoop, in the NFL, the Los Angeles Rams actually announced that they're going to be placing their tender on tackle Alaric Jackson. The team, as I mentioned in the first Sports Minute, the team already announced that they're going to be bringing back tackle Kevin Dotson and look to be beefing up their offensive line with Jackson also in the lineup. The Jacksonville Jaguars actually announced that they're going to be restructuring the contract of offensive guard Brandon Scherf. Scherf, who is actually going to be in his 9th season, looks to have a restructured contract going into next season with the Jacksonville Jaguars. In NBA news, the Indiana Pacers guard Benedict Mathurin is expected to miss some time with a shoulder injury. Coach Rick Carlisle said that he actually has no timetable on his return and is currently up in the air. LeBron James, who actually exited yesterday's Kings loss with the ankle injury, is expected to be okay and fully ready to go for tomorrow's game against the Bucs. Now, I'm going to give you guys quick scores for Scoops to Scores. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the NBA and NHL scores going on right now. And in the NBA, Miami, currently a close game with Dallas. Miami currently leads 97-95 late in the fourth quarter, with Toronto and Phoenix just actually tipped off about an hour ago, currently in the second quarter, with Phoenix currently leading 44-26. Now it's going to go to the NHL scores where currently Boston has a 4-1 lead over Toronto Maple Leafs. Calgary currently has a 6-3 lead over Tampa Bay. With St. Louis and New Jersey still squaring off right now, New Jersey has a currently 4-1 lead over St. Louis. And Washington, with the game already about it ending right now, Washington currently is winning 6-0 against Pittsburgh, with Carolina currently leading 3-1 against Montreal. Nashville currently has a 2-1 lead over Buffalo right now, and that is all the time that I have for you guys right now. I'm going to send it back over to the boys for their next guest on Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and ex-NFL pain in the ass, Sean Smith. All you have to do to tune in and check out your local listings, ladies and gentlemen. I could say it over and over again. Speedy, no, I'm not going to have you say it because you like the hung and stiff. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Speedy, you love the word hung, right? That's your favorite word.
I don't know.
You like it. What do you mean you don't know? You've said it many, many times. You like the word hung.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You said it on the show many, many times. You don't like the word stiff either.
Don't care.
I mean, you do care. Stop lying. You do. Thank you to Garrett Jones. He was fantastic, as he always is when he comes on the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this guy's been on our show before, and it's so interesting when we get these NFL guys on the show because the combine is now passing. Now you have the draft, you have free agency, so much to get into. And as a Jet fan, there's really nothing to get into unless Aaron Rodgers actually stays healthy. We're now talking to the Gameday NFL draft analyst, Michael Rochman. Mike, what's up, bud?
Not too much. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's so interesting, Mike, before we get into the combine, it's so interesting when we mention the New York Jets. And you know why it's so interesting? Because every single year, Jet fans believe it's our year. It's our year. Oh, my God. We were on Hard Knocks. Oh, we were killing it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was hanging out, enjoying himself. Everybody was praising him as he was the next god here in New York. And what happens? 4 plays, his career is practically over as a Jet. We hope not, but it seems like, and by the way, he came out today and said he wants to play 4 years. He is out of his mind. But again, he likes to smoke, what's that called? Ayahuasca. He likes to hang out in the darkness. I mean, he probably hangs out with Speedy. He's very hung, and he's stiff in so many ways than one. What are your thoughts to the New York Jets this coming offseason?
Yeah, I mean, for the Jets, there's really one approach that you have to have, and that is going all in on Aaron Rodgers because you've already made that decision this past offseason. Obviously, 2023 didn't really go according to plan with the quick injury that kind of sidelined him the entire year. But, you have to reinvest in the trenches. You have to try to find a way to get stability at the offensive tackle spots, maybe get some depth so that, if Vera Tucker's battling injuries, then you have someone to step in that instance. You really have to make sure that you're surrounding Aaron Rodgers with the best situation possible because maybe you believe that the recovery is going to go faster than usual and he's going to be 100% by opening season next year. You still have to surround him with better weapons and better protection so that the injury doesn't reoccur, any possible regression isn't easy to notice, and the Jets can remain competitive.
So the tackle prospects are something that's pretty deep in this draft too. I think people consensus-wise think Fashanu and Alt are 1 and 2, but there's a lot of good first-round prospects as well. What are your thoughts on the first-round talents? Any ones that you like more than the others?
Yeah, so my hot take is actually I love Talisa Fuaga out of Oregon State. I think whenever you turn on his tape, the way he moves around the field, I mean, there's only a few guys that can do that. You look at guys like Trent Williams, Lane Johnson, where they're able to pull when they're blocking and kind of get 40 yards downfield, clearing the way in the run game. That's such a rare ability that not many tackles possess, and Fuaga does that with ease. And obviously, he's probably going to be someone that stays on the right tackle with all of his experience being there with the Beavers. So maybe he loses a little bit of appeal for teams that are looking for that left tackle in the blind side position. But, when it comes to just what caliber of player I think they're going to be at the NFL level, I think Fuaga is my top guy. Obviously, Alt, Fashanu, both very high potential guys that I think will be very good. This tackle class is just tremendous all over the board. But, whenever it comes to the top spot, I'm giving it to Talisa Fuaga, even though it's a little bit against the grain in terms of consensus opinion.
It's so interesting. I've been watching the NFL Network when the Combine was on, and the NFL Network and NFL.com has Malik Neighbors as the number 1 prospect in this class. It's crazy when you have Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and I'm not even. That's just wide receivers. We're not speaking about offensive linemen, linebackers, defensive tackles, all the talent out there. Malik Neighbors right now is rated a 6.86, which is the highest rating they gave to any player. Do you think Malik Neighbors is that good?
Yeah, I mean, I think Malik Neighbors is very talented. Personally, he's my wide receiver 3. I think, again, just kind of forecasting to what the NFL is progressing to in terms of offenses. You look at guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze, and what they bring from a physicality standpoint is something that I think Neighbors, if there's something to nitpick about his game, it's the fact that he's not necessarily going to be that guy that boxes out at the catch point and makes the catch for himself. He's someone that's going to generate easy separation. He's very smooth, very fast, going to dominate downfield as a vertical threat. But, when you kind of look at how offensive minds are taking over the NFL, scheming guys open has become a lot easier for the passing game and passing concepts alone. So the guys who generate their own separation, they aren't losing value per se, but I think whenever you have those guys that are able to go up at the catch point and create those catches, make those 50-50 balls into 75-25 balls, that's where the real benefit pays off. And, you look at guys like Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, that physicality is just such a benefit in the passing game. And I don't think that's necessarily a knock on Neighbors. He wins in his own ways, but, it's really tough for me to kind of turn away from what the NFL is trending towards, and that's why I prefer guys like Harrison and Odunze.
So we were talking about at the beginning of the show with the Giants likely moving off of Daniel Jones, and there's rumors they could trade into the top 3 to try to get a quarterback, but they also need wide receivers. They also need offensive linemen really badly. So what would you do if you're the Giants, and do you think it's realistic for them to be one of the teams that could trade up?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't think that they can necessarily trade up just because in my mind, I feel like all 3 teams in those top 3 picks have really made it known how much they want a quarterback in this draft. But, recent rumors have seemed to indicate that Drake May maybe isn't as coveted by the NFL as a lot of fans and media seem to have him. So that'll be an interesting situation to track. But if the opportunity presents itself where they're able to trade up into a chance at Drake May or JJ McCarthy or whoever they value that highly with that big of a grade that they think this is our guy to be a franchise quarterback, we're willing to take sunken cost fallacy on Daniel Jones and move on at the position because we think our guy is available right now, then yeah, I absolutely think it's something that needs to happen. I think Dable and Schoen have proven that they're very capable, but, when you give out that big of a contract to a guy like Jones and things start to snowball into disaster in New York, you don't have a lot of time to where you're able to just quickly, kind of save face and keep your job around. If Daniel Jones is back at starter next year and the struggles continue and the team just continues to disappoint and, they go 5-12 or something, there's going to be a lot of talk for Dable and Schoen to be on the hot seat at the very least. And, 2025, I know you never want to look ahead to the next draft class too much, especially with how much that final year matters in the process of evaluation. But there's not a lot of quarterbacks that have solidified themselves as a top pick for next year. So there's no let's try with Daniel Jones. And then if this doesn't work out, we can kind of make it all happen to go up for, right now it's like Quinn Ewers, Shadir Sanders, who, they're talented college quarterbacks, but there's still a lot left on the table in terms of what they need to do to grow their game. So right now, if you think a guy like Drake May or JJ McCarthy is that good that you can trade up and get them, or Jaden Daniels, of course, then yeah, certainly something that you have to consider and you have to be willing to pay the price for because, having that franchise quarterback is arguably more important than anything on a roster.
We are talking to the Gameday NFL draft analyst, Michael Rochman. The running back position is something that a lot of teams are just saying, you know what? We're just going to release this guy. We're going to release that guy. We don't care. We could find a running back in the 3rd round. We could find a running back in the 4th or 5th or 6th round when you have Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Jacobs, all these guys that are going to be available this offseason when free agency frenzy opens up in the next week. You look at this draft class, the number 1 guy in this class is Jonathan Brooks. I like Jalen Wright. I like Trey Benson. They're nice players, but Jonathan Brooks is the best running back in this class. Do you believe that Jonathan Brooks is anywhere close to the player that Josh Jacobs is or anywhere close to the player that Saquon Barkley is?
When it comes to guys like Barkley and Jacobs, I don't think so, but it's really going to come down to that situation of are we willing to invest the money that probably is required to go and get a Jacobs or a Barkley? Barkley's probably going to demand double-digit millions on the market, and some teams just don't feel like that's worth putting their money towards, especially when you're a contending team that maybe needs some help on the trenches or in the defense. And you're saying, okay, these are positions that we view as more important and we can find that production to a similar degree in the draft. Jonathan Brooks is especially interesting because, he tore his ACL midway through the season for Texas. So how much of the season is going to be impacted? Head coaches already kind of hate rookie running backs as it is because pass blocking usually isn't up to par, just gaining that trust of having them in the backfield and understanding all the plays and, all the different adjustments that the quarterback is calling that they need to pick up on. So, there's going to be a little bit of an impact on the stock for a guy like him. And it's going to make this situation rather complicated when it comes to what teams are looking for in the draft. I think the first one off the board is probably going to be Blake Corum. And it wouldn't shock me if the Chargers are just willing to do it at 37, just because a lot of teams are willing to invest earlier than a lot of people expect, especially right now in the point of the draft process. You look last year, Jahmyr Gibbs was a 2nd-round guy in terms of every projection. Bijan was expected to be late 1st-round guy. So, obviously there are still plenty of head coaches that believe in the running back position and they're going to be willing to draft these guys maybe a little earlier than what the current projection is. But I mean, when you have available veterans that have the talent of Josh Jacobs or a Saquon Barkley, or even, taking a risk on a guy like an A.J. Dillon or Gus Edwards who have proven to be somewhat effective when given the opportunity, there's still some value there. So it's definitely going to be an impactful free agent class, and it's going to dictate a lot of these running back stocks. But at the same time, for every departure in free agency, there's going to be an opening. So, like, what would the Giants do if Barkley ends up going to Houston or something? There's definitely going to be opportunities for these rookies.
There is a sleeper right now, running back, that I'm definitely going to look at. If I was a team right now in the 4th round or even the 5th round, Frank Gore Jr. I watched him play this year, Southern Mississippi. We know what his father was as a player. This guy is a beast of a man. He's a power back. You can use him in so many different ways. I think he could be a steal in the 4th round. I really do. What are your thoughts to Frank Gore Jr.?
Yeah, he's someone that was extremely productive for Southern Miss, and he's someone that consistently, when given the ball, was able to turn in big yards, and he's someone that they relied on there because the offense necessarily didn't have a lot of firepower when it came to it, so they decided to make him the identity, and he took that opportunity and ran with it. He doesn't have the same frame as his father. He's not as much of a bruiser as Frank Gore Sr. was during his time in the NFL, but I do think there's still some value there, and sometimes just having that experience of having a dad in the NFL and someone grew up with and were close to, just having that familiarity with it and already being somewhat seasoned to that pro experience can be huge to the rookie transition and making that jump to the NFL. So definitely an opportunity for Frank Gore Jr. to find success at the next level.
You mentioned coaches hating rookie running backs. We were just joking about it yesterday with Bijan Robinson and the great Arthur Smith, giving him like 10 carries a game. And now Arthur Smith is with the Steelers, who I know you also write for Steelers Depot as well. And one of the things they were rumored for was Russell Wilson. It seems like they're out on Justin Fields. Would you make that move if you were the Steelers? Because it seems like Kenny Pickett isn't the guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be a good debate for it. I mean, Russell Wilson is someone that in the right offense probably can still be somewhat of a reliable quarterback. But there's also the question of, what type of impact does Russell Wilson have on this locker room and this team chemistry? The Steelers are one that manages that better than anyone because of what Mike Tomlin just kind of brings into a team culture. He's kind of very loose with everyone, kind of lets everyone stay true to themselves. And a guy like Russell Wilson probably needs that more than most quarterbacks in the league. But at the same time, you've spent the 1st round pick on Kenny Pickett. Do you think that he is necessarily this franchise superstar? Maybe not, but at the same time, there's an opportunity to get him in an Arthur Smith offense where the play action game is going to be heavily utilized. And we saw, based on numbers, despite the limited opportunity that Pickett had in the play action passing game in Matt Canada's offense, he was extremely effective when he got those chances. So maybe in a heavier usage of play action passing, better play calling overall, because unfortunately to Matt Canada, he just did not have the chops to cut it out in the NFL. Maybe there can be a jump in Pickett's play, but if you have the opportunity at a veteran minimum, Russell Wilson, to be the competition that you're bringing in for Kenny Pickett to compete for the starting job, there's a lot of appeal to that. And it really just comes down to, is Russell Wilson willing to accept a position where he's probably going to have to compete for that quarterback position more so than just be handed it like he has in the past?
We are talking to the Gameday NFL draft analyst, our friend Michael Rochman. Michael, the quarterback position has been the talk of this draft. And Caleb Williams, I've been saying it for 2 years. This guy is the best quarterback in this class. He just needs to go he needs to go to the right team, and he needs to be in the right position to succeed. Is Chicago the right position to succeed? And do you believe that he's the best quarterback in this class?
Yeah, I believe he's the best quarterback in this class. Now, obviously, there's going to be contenders for this because guys like Daniels and guys like May and McCarthy even are going to land in situations, and one of them is probably also going to have a lot of success as well. But for me, when you look at Caleb Williams, a lot of people want to talk about the fact that he plays this kind of hero ball style, runs around a lot, and he's not going to be very good in structure. But even when in structure for USC, he was able to make a lot of things happen in the offense. And the reason that he was able to get away with the playmaking and scrambling around and just able to kind of dance around defenses for 8-9 seconds was because of what he brings to the table. That is a pro for Caleb Williams, not something to knock him on. Obviously, he's going to have to be a little bit more disciplined, sticking to the script a little bit in the next level of play, but there's just so much arm talent, mobility, and playmaking ability that Caleb Williams brings to the table that I think he has a very high floor. I know a lot of people want to add all these narratives that he's like this terrible guy and, he paints his nails, so he's just this really weird character concern, but a lot of it's just fluff that is going to happen with any top prospect to some degree. You know, they're going to talk about any flaw that they can because they've just seen this guy at the top for so long, but people are just born to hate apparently. But yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams has so much of just checking every box on the list that you're looking for in a quarterback that, especially in today's modern era, I think he fits in exactly as you want. And for the Chicago Bears and fit, you know, there's questions about that, and I think they're valid, but the offensive line definitely did improve as the season went along. You know, you kind of look at a guy like Justin Fields who was more designed runs, so that's why he got sacked so much, because he's someone that's trying to create those runs and create those plays with his legs, and sometimes that gets taken down in the backfield, and that's not being counted as a negative run. It's just being counted as a sack, and then there's times where he held onto the ball too long because he needed to process quicker. So, you know, there's issues in that regard that I think kind of look poorly on the offensive line that maybe aren't as true, because Chicago does have a nice improving unit. They've also went and added Ryan Bates to be their starting center, I believe. So I think that's going to be nice for them. You know, the big thing now is trying to get that secondary weapon. Are they going to move up from 9 to try to get a Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze in that offense? Are they going to maybe stick at 9 and try to add Brock Bowers with Cole Kmet in that tight end attack and kind of keep things tighter to the box? You know, there's a lot of options that they have. You know, maybe they love a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. and they're willing to reach a little bit on him compared to what the consensus value is. But I think as long as they're willing to continue investing in the offense and trying to surround Caleb Williams with talent, the Chicago Bears are well on their way to being a very good system for him to find success.
So Brock Bowers is somebody that's interesting because athletically graded wise, you could argue he's the best prospect in this draft, but we've seen a lot of early round tight end.
Get out of here. Stop.
Probably outside
Stop
of
this
probably
tight end crap.
Probably outside of Vernon Davis, a lot of these top 10 tight ends.
OJ Howard.
Yeah.
Come on. I can name a bunch of tight ends that were not anywhere close to first round draft picks.
Right.
They were, and they failed.
The Lions drafted Eric Ebron top 10. Like there's a lot of them that didn't work out. But
horrible.
Do you think he will be somebody that could go top 10? Which team do you think would take him? If not, why do you think that's the case?
Yeah, so for a guy like Brock Bowers, it feels like one team makes sense. And unfortunately, that team may be a little too high right now, and that's the Chargers at 5. So if the Chargers are willing to trade down and, you know, maybe add some additional capital to their future picks or maybe just an additional second rounder that year, something in that situation where, you know, maybe Chicago, like I mentioned, may trade up for Malik Neighbors. If the two can get an agreement in that regard, there's an opportunity for where Brock Bowers kind of fills into that Mark Andrews role that both Jim Harbaugh has familiarity with because of his brother, and Greg Roman was the offensive coordinator in Baltimore and used Mark Andrews amazingly. So, you know, I think that's a great fit. I just don't know if it's something that you would have to do at 5. I think they would definitely be better suited to trade down and probably still be able to get them a little bit later on. After that, the board gets really interesting because I think the need for other positions just outweighs the luxury of taking a tight end when you're kind of able to get by with a serviceable tight end. Whereas, you know, if you have bad left tackle, bad cornerback, bad receivers, it becomes much more dire. So, you know, teams like the Saints maybe would be interesting. Teams like the Broncos where they're just completely in rebuild mode and maybe have to just take whoever they think is good enough. Teams like the Colts, maybe the Bengals at 18 is probably the floor, just because, you know, if you have that chance to add Bowers to that passing attack, it's something that you really can't pass on. But yeah, I mean, it's really the Chargers, or he probably starts to slip a little bit more than people are expecting. And, you know, we may see a little bit of a draft day slide that a lot of people aren't accounting for when it comes to Brock Bowers.
Last question for us. I know you're a busy guy, as you know, the frenzy is about to open up in the next week or so, and then the draft is around my birthday, as it always is. And I always get ready for the draft, and I always throw up because I'm a Jet fan, and it just doesn't sound like it's going to be a good draft. Only one year when they got Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner and Breece Hall and Johnson, I was like, wow, we really hit the lottery. And then we fell from the lottery to failing again, as we always do. My last question for you is Jared Verse. He's a guy, I'm a Florida State Seminole fan. I grew up a Florida State Seminole fan in the 90s when I couldn't stand Miami and the Hurricanes, and I couldn't stand Florida and all those garbage Florida teams, just a Seminole. He looked really good at his combine, very fast off the edge. Some people compare him to a guy that plays for the Browns. Do you think that this kid, his development He has to go to a team that he could be developed. Could he be a player of that magnitude?
Yeah, I think he's someone that maybe isn't going to be, Myles Garrett level, but I do think he's very talented. I'd even say you may be underselling how pro ready I think he is, because when it comes to pass rushing production, obviously he's been someone that's been dominant at Florida State for the past 2 years of getting to the quarterback and showing what a great first step he has to really disrupt the pass and make an impact on opposing quarterbacks. But against the run, he does very well too. And I think that's probably what makes him more appealing than almost all the other edge rushers in this first round batch. You could argue a guy like maybe Braylon Trice is a little bit more suited to defend the run. But, with the way that Verse measured in for weight while Trice kind of came in underweight, I think Verse is probably the most well-rounded edge rusher of this class that makes him have a lot of appeal. I think he's probably one of the most pro-ready guys of this edge class. It's a lot of developmental pieces, Chop Robinson, Dallas Turner, all guys that are going to need a lot of ironing out when it comes to their game, because there's a lot of potential, but maybe the polish just isn't exactly there. Where, Verse, he's not like a finished product at all. I think there's still a lot that can be grown in his game. But I think from day one, if I were to say I need someone to start tomorrow from this edge class, I'm going with Verse. And I think he's someone that, as he continues to get time in the NFL and gets acclimated, he's going to be interesting. And, you probably hate to hear this right now if you're a Florida State fan and a Jets fan. I think he's a really good fit in Miami, where they lost Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb to late season injuries. They need some help on that defensive line, especially if Christian Wilkins.
Are you trying to make me throw up, man?
I really hate to do it, but it makes a lot of sense.
You're causing a lot of trouble here. Are you trying to pitch this?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I might stick Speedy on you. I might stick him on you.
I'm not going to do anything to you. Don't worry.
I mean,
I have nothing against the Miami Dolphins.
He's very hung. Okay,
no,
Mike?
I'm not.
And he's very stiff. So you got to be careful. If I stick him on you, it might be dangerous.
Don't listen to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone that I think, just for the day one impact alone, there's going to be a lot of guys a lot of teams that are going to be in on him, especially as some of these teams start to trade back and maybe start to just kind of look for impact players that are going to help them in long-term and short-term combination for those, kind of playoff push teams that maybe don't have the most positive outlook. I think there's a lot of appeal. Teams like New Orleans could even consider it, where they know Cam Jordan's getting older. They have no money to kind of go outside of their roster when it comes to, adding talent. So, maybe a guy like Jared Verse makes a lot of sense there, to where he can learn and rotate for a year and then kind of take over and pair up with Granderson on that defensive line as well. There's a big range for him. And I think, like I said, in terms of pro readiness in this edge class, I think he's the guy that offers the most of it.
Well, Mike, we really appreciate the time, as always. You're fantastic. Keep up the good work and keep doing what you do best, and that's put out the content. And we will talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. Michael Rochman, fantastic. Really is. So much information. And by the way, of course, Jeff is talking crap. But don't worry, Jeff. When I'm right about, our friend Bauer, and he fails to be the player that everybody thinks he's going to be, I'm going to stick it to you, because you don't know crap either. You open your mouth, you say things. I agree with you on certain things that you say, and you do know a little bit about the draft, and you failed sometimes in making your picks and saying that these guys are going to be great. And I'm going to tell you this right now. You can sell this. Bauer is not going to be as good as everybody thinks he's going to be. So you could take that to the bank, and I don't care what you say. So whatever you have to say, keep sticking it wherever you like to stick it, or I'll hook you up with Speedy.
No,
I'm just saying. I'll hook
Jeff,
you up
I'm not going to do anything to you either.
Jeff likes the stiffies.
All right. Well, then have Jeff go after Michael Rochman if the Dolphins draft Jared Verse.
It's good, but why don't you? I know Nathan is waiting for. I think he wants to come in. So why don't we?
All right, Nathan. I'll send you the link.
Send him the link. Send him a text. I know Jeff loves Nathan. I know he loves him, and you know what? I could care less what Jeff says. Jeff is a pain in the rear end. I'm not going to say anything more than that. If I do, I know he's in love with. I know Sean loves Jeff, and maybe for the wrong reasons. I mean,
all right, Nathan. I emailed you the link.
They like cookies, they like ice cream, and they like to drink. I mean, they're perfect for one another, and they like to smoke. I mean, I should hook Sean Smith and Jeff from Tampa together. That would be great. I mean, what do you think their conversations will be about?
Oh, whether
cat litter.
Jeff will reminisce on all the things he loves, randomly taking shots at you about, and Sean will just love it, and then he'll start spewing his own things about the Jersey Shore crap.
What else is new? I mean, seriously, it's okay. It's okay, Jeff. We'll help you out. It's okay. I'm going to help you out every day of your life, Jeff. I'll send you a bunch of, I'll send you a couple loaves of Oreo cookies. By the way, have you guys did you go to Subway? Subway has, a foot cookie for like $5. It's actually really good. How many times have you gone to Subway, Jeff? How many cookies have you eaten, Jeff? What's he saying over here?
I'm surprised Sean put up with you this long, to be honest.
No, whatever. I could care less what Jeff has to say. It's okay. It's okay, Jeff. I'm going to hook you up, Jeff. I'll send you a couple of bucks, and you can go over there to Subway and buy yourself a couple loaves of cookies. I mean, that'll be good for you. I mean, it'll only put on another 50 to 60 pounds to your 300-pound frame.
Maybe Sean will pick some Shake Shack up for Jeff.
Hey, listen. Loaves of cookies. Shut up, Jeff. You're an idiot. You're so stupid. You know what? Everything that comes out of my mouth, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. Jeff has something to say about it. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
You ever notice that?
Of course.
And when Jeff speaks, I mean, Snug wants to lick his ass. I mean, seriously. He might as well get on his knees and do a couple of licking, I mean, they both, probably like that. And they do that, on the side, right, Speedy? You should know that.
I wouldn't rule it. Why would I know that?
I don't know, but maybe we should hook you up.
Maybe Snug would.
They'll give you a sandwich.
I'm not
You'll
involved
be their
in this.
sandwich.
I'm not involved in this.
You'll be their vanilla.
I'm not involved in this
filling
process.
in their cookie.
I'm not involved in this process.
I mean, seriously. I mean, Snug called up. It was Oreo Day the other day.
I know. So, all right. So why don't you go? They're perfect. Why don't you go recruit Mikey C?
Mikey C doesn't want to hang out with those guys. Mikey C. They love Mikey.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say it's perfect.
They love Mikey C, and Mikey C can't stand them. Okay, I just want to let you guys know that. You guys like to sit here and kiss Mikey's. He can't stand you guys. So you could say whatever you want. I'm a good friend of Mike. So I'm just telling you, he thinks you both are idiots. So that you could take to the bank, buddies. So anyways, why don't we bring fish in? Why don't we bring fish in? I mean, you've never met Jeff. You've never seen Jeff. What do you think of his comedy when he comes on the show? Oh, you're on mute.
Jeff. Yeah, I got it. Jeff is, just a legend in the comedy scene, as we all know. Just tells the greatest jokes. Everyone's just hanging on every word that Jeff has to say. Because not only is he funnier than everyone I've ever heard, but he knows more about sports as well.
I think
I'm sorry. I blacked out. What was the question? Jeff? No, not at all. Sorry.
Hey, listen, it's okay, Jeff. I'm a fan of yours, not. I would never be a fan of yours. The only thing I could say about you, Jeff, is you have some very interesting stories when you call me up. And for some reason, you're like a Jets fan now. I don't believe it, and an Islander fan or whatever fan, New York fan.
No, he's a fan of every New York team besides the Yankees and the Rangers.
Yeah, he's an idiot, okay? Everything dumb that comes out of that kid's mouth. I mean, seriously. And honestly, Jeff, we do have a passion for each other in so many ways than one, but not in the way you're thinking. And by the way, for all those people out there that do think Jeff has some common sense to his takes when it comes to sports, if you do, whatever you're drinking, please send it to me because I want to drink it too. So I think he's out of his damn mind, everything that comes out of his mouth. And I get these stupid text messages every day about the Islanders, the Jets, all this garbage. And by the way, I can't wait until Verdugo hits 35 home runs this year and gives the Yankees 90 RBIs and shoves it up the Boston Red Sox's asses. So and by the way, yes, the Yankees did throw things at him, and now the Yankees will kiss him.
Speaking of the NFL draft, Nathan, I hope you learned some NFL draft stuff from our last guest.
Let's do it. I know Jeff loves you.
You've got some prospects down this time, Nathan.
Jeff loves you, by the way. Neff.
What's up? What's up, everyone? How you guys doing? Thanks for having me as always, and you guys are the best. And by the way, great guest today with Garrett Jones and I forgot the other
Michael
guest.
Rochman.
Yeah,
Michael Rochman. Niffin, I know Jeff likes to pick on you, and that's okay.
I know. No, Jeff is cool.
He's a cool guy. Are you kidding me? You're gonna stick up for Jeff? That
I'm
win-
just joking. He's an asshole. Jeff is an asshole.
Yeah, he is. That's okay. I would agree with you on that. Give me a vowel for that. All right. But I mean, seriously, but my question to you, Niffin, you've gone to a bunch of these different events, and you've met a lot of different athletes, and you've interviewed a couple of good.
And
athletes.
Arrow, now it's your time to help, come join us with these events. So I sent you some flyers. So if you're interested, and then you're good to go as media. So whenever you're free, just
listen. I want Speedy to come because he's very hung, and I think Dennis Rodman would love him. I really do. I mean, he might want to stay. He might want to hang his, not hang or shake his stiff. Right, Speedy?
I don't care.
I mean, he likes stiffs.
All right, then he can go after his own stiffs.
You want to meet Dennis?
Not for that reason.
What? Why would you want to meet?
I'm not dealing with stiffs.
I mean, listen. His last name is Rodman.
Which means nothing to me.
It's a rod. I mean, you're a stiff. He's a rod. Together, you're stiff and rod.
Oh God.
Stiff and rod. I mean, that's good, right?
That sounds like some bad name for a band.
Hey, what were you gonna ask me, Arrow?
Tell us some of the different athletes that you've met over the last couple of weeks, and who's been your favorite one since since the beginning of this.
You're putting me on the spot. I mean, every athlete is. First of all, shout out to the Woodbridge Brewing Company for letting us help out with their with the events and hosting them sometimes, and helping them with content, media coverage, and they do a great job by putting everything together for the fans. And whoever is listening to the show right now, please, whoever's in the Jersey area, come to Woodbridge, New Jersey. There's a place called Woodbridge Brewing Company. Great food, great vibes, great drinks. Events. So last weekend,
it sounds like a perfect place for Jeff.
Yeah,
you just mentioned it: food, drinks, and ugly chicks. Oh, man, that's perfect.
I know we got some beautiful chicks there.
No, we got ugly chicks.
But last weekend we had Dow Strawberry. So we did an event with Dow Strawberry there. I would say that's one of our favorites. Who else? Probably if you go last year, we had Lawrence Taylor, Tino Martinez, Bernie Williams, and then this year John Franco, and then actually starting tomorrow we got Nico Hirschner from the Devils coming, and then Saturday Ken Danico, Sunday Nate Bastion, and then
I like Ken Danico.
He's awesome. Great guy.
Good personality, by the way.
Maybe he'll be the future head coach of the Devils now that they fired Lindy Ruff.
And here I had the list here. John Starks. We had Bartolo Colon. We had a lot of things happening, and obviously more to come. With
Nathan, congratulations! You just scared away Jeff.
Oh, nice. That was my goal. That was my goal today. And
I'm loving it, man. You just made my day.
Let's go. This is the best show ever.
The bully. You scared the bully, the fat, obsessive bully, and Snug, who is like his counterpartner that wants to lick his ass. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
So March 23rd, we got Charles Oakley. March 24th, Jacob Truba. May 11th, obviously Dennis Rodman. So more to come. The owner of Woodbridge he is on another level right now.
Oh, I'm sure he is. Speedy. You have Dennis Rodman, and very soon you're going to have Rod and Stiff come and sign autographs. Right?
Is that going to be Charles Oakley's nickname?
Might want to keep Nate Bastion away from Truba, at that Woodbridge Brewery over there,
Yeah, you got it, Fish. It's because whoever doesn't know what Fish is talking about is when Rangers played the Devils and they got into this big, huge fight, and then Truba knocked him. And I think there's a picture of Nate with the blood on his face, right? If I'm correct, but
yeah, slumped over.
yeah. So that's why we made it separate. The events first. This Sunday is gonna be Nate, and then coming up March 23rd. I'm sure
Ranger fans, we don't need him suspended before the playoffs.
I'm pretty sure one of the fans will bring it up in these two events for sure.
Do you know what Speedy's favorite slogan is? Slumped over and bend over. That's his favorite slogan. I mean, seriously. That is, you just posted. Slumped over and bend over. I mean, right, Speedy?
Where's Sean's?
Is that the slogan for Evan Neal's blocking style? Clearly, whatever he's doing now isn't working.
So maybe we should hook you up with Evan Neal.
Oh yeah, I want to mess with a 330-pound guy.
I mean, you've got that.
I think he's bigger.
Yeah, he might be. I know. Closer to 340. I know.
So maybe we should hook Jeff up with him. What do you guys think?
Perfect.
Yeah, we should hook Jeff.
Anything but me.
We should hook up. No, we should hook Jeff up with Charles Barkley.
I think you just lost Snug too. Oh, I'm loving it. I mean, we just got rid of.
Speaking of Snug, he does have an interesting conspiracy theory. I'm 100% certain that Nathan and the Beeve are somehow related.
What?
You and the Beeve are somehow related. Well, both Ranger fans, both Cowboys fans. That's as much contact as we have.
Oh, you know who we should hook up with Jeff with? EJ Perry.
Oh,
I think Jeff would actually like to meet EJ Perry. I mean, seriously. I mean, he loves to pick on him. So maybe they can have an Oreo cookie match. I mean, who can eat an Oreo faster, or who can eat a sleeve faster? I think Jeff would win. I think he'd kick his you know what, but that's just my opinion. I mean, seriously, it's okay, Jeff. We're okay. We're not going to tell anybody that you're not a New York fan. We all know that you're not a New York fan.
We also have Harrison Bader coming to Woodbridge, and then Doc Gooden also.
Okay.
Yeah. And no, I don't want to bring. I know I brought this up already, but
I can't wait for this.
Jose Canseco is coming too.
Oh God, I told
Your favorite, Errol.
I'm going to bring him his book, and I'm going to give it to him. He's going to ask me, "Do you want me to sign it?" I'm going to say no. I'm going to give it to you because nobody has bought it. So there you go. That's what I'm going to do, right, Speedy? What do you think about that? What do you think Canseco is going to do to me when I give it to him?
I don't know.
He's going to hit you. He's going to hit you in the face. No.
Probably. And you know what? I'm going to give him Speedy. You can have him.
I'm not involved in that. I'm not involved in a physical altercation with you and Jose Canseco.
Well, if I told him you have Iffy,
which would mean diddly squats.
I mean,
be careful, Speedy. He might stampede you.
That's right.
Yeah, I know. That is what I'm afraid of.
Well, all you have to do is tell him you hung,
which would mean absolutely nothing.
You might.
Let me ask all of you guys a question here. What are your thoughts on all these NFL movement already with the big names going on the market, and also the contract extensions with some of these safeties and cornerbacks today, Jalen Johnson, Tyrann Mathieu, and also these big, obviously the safety, the free agent market is loaded this year. So a lot of teams like
I don't think it's loaded as much as you think it is. I really don't. The running backs, I think it's loaded for running backs because the NFL has just pushed it away like this isn't an important position. But besides the running backs, I mean, who's available?
Yeah, receivers are going to have to come in the trade market because a lot of them got franchised. T. Higgins, we were talking about earlier. Michael Pittman got franchised.
I mean, there's
the Broncos,
a couple of safeties.
Yeah, the Broncos might consider trading one of their receivers that we've heard, but even that's kind of a smaller rumor at this point. So teams needing receiver and offensive line are going to have a lot more trouble.
I think Smith is going to the Jets. That's what I think.
Who's Smith? Smith?
Yeah, your offensive
your
lineman.
boy.
Oh, Tyron Smith. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Smith is going to go to the Jets. I do believe that when the frenzy opens up in the next week, I think that's where he's heading. That would be probably something that you can obviously book it. I really do believe Smith will be a Jet.
I think Barkley is going to go to the Houston Texans.
Bakhtiari will be a Jet. They'll bring him in as a backup, and they'll move him around the offensive line. They might even put him at guard because he could play multiple positions. So I think they bring in Bakhtiari because he's obviously Aaron Rodgers' friend. He'll probably take less money to come to the Jets and play with the Jets. So I think you could book that as well. I think Smith, Bakhtiari. I think what the Jets are going to do this offseason is bolster up that offensive line and hope they can find a wide receiver in this draft class. That's what I think. I don't. As a matter of fact, I'm sorry to cut you guys off. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets trade down and try to get that second round draft pick back, still get the offensive lineman they want, and still get the wide receiver that they want in the second round. So,
yeah, Fish, what you were saying?
Yeah.
I just lost it.
Oh,
that happens to me.
What was that?
What was this? The goat. We were talking about the goats today. We were doing all that.
Oh, so that was a goat.
No,
it was just talking about a goat.
I must have got stampeded too. I've just become an animal today.
I've seen a goat that's been hung. Let me tell you, they have.
I try not to click on those videos to share with everybody here. Just the sports
ones.
ones.
They hang to the ground, Speedy.
Okay, I'll consider that if I'm in my dinosaur.
I think Barkley goes to Houston.
That's what I was gonna say.
And then I heard a rumor where the Eagles or Barkley and the Eagles have mutual interest.
I saw that too. I feel like I have a weird feeling that the Eagles are just because Kellen Moore is there are going to get Tony Pollard.
I think Austin Eckler can end up in Dallas on a short-term deal.
Yeah, that's interesting. I could see that. So I mentioned last week I could see the Vikings as well for Eckler.
Niffin, Barkley. No one's really talking about it that much, and I think that's why it's going to happen. I think Harbaugh is going to go get him. I think he's going to get the Chargers to spend money because they just gave him a bunch of money. This is the year that if you want to get a guy like that, if you're Harbaugh, he's going to be able to have that ability to do so. And he wants to run the football.
Yeah.
Like it's so clear as day that it would make a lot of sense for him there. It makes sense in Houston too, but I don't know. I think Harbaugh is just going to go grab him, man.
Wow, that would be a scary
Not
thing.
a chance in hell. I think he's going to the Texans.
No, but
I really think it's sold. I think it's obviously, it's a week away. I think it's already done. I think he's heading to the Texans.
Speaking of, the Chargers are another great fit for Barkley, and then they're ready to win. Justin Herbert, and then obviously Jim Harbaugh coming in, and a new fresh air for the Chargers franchise. And I feel like you said, Fish, I think they're ready to spend big money, and they already spent big money on the coach. So why not spend big money on players? So
that doesn't go on their cap. So that's
I know. No, the good thing though, the NFL raised the cap, which is a good thing. So now,
yeah, especially for the Chargers, which they had to shed a lot of money already. They're probably going to trade Khalil Mack now that we've heard, and they just shed a lot of other defensive guys, including we were talking about earlier, Eric Kendricks and a couple other linebackers. They cut J.C. Jackson last year, so they're going to have to rebuild a lot on defense. But you're right, that would definitely help the offense to at least be a juggernaut.
Okay, speaking of a name on this list, how about Baker Mayfield and Yankee spring training camp today, huh?
Break. He's going to play baseball now, Nathan. Is that the rumor you're going to spread?
Kyler Murray.
Yankees signed Baker Mayfield to a 1-year deal.
Yeah, the day that happens is the day I hang out with Jeff. Okay, that's never gonna happen. That's never gonna happen. So that's just the facts. But anyways, Nathan, we love you. Keep up the good work. I'll be in touch with you, bud.
Yeah, thank you for having me. You guys are the best. Keep up the awesome work, and looking forward to your guys' next show. And
I'm gonna show you something. You ready? Who am I cradling right now? Who do you think I'm cradling?
Jeff.
That's right. That's right. Poor old little Jeff. We scared him away.
Oh, I can't believe I made him leave finally.
Poor little Jeff, he's gone.
Find
me a river.
Yeah, keep up. Looking forward to your next show, and stay tuned on our platform and our media for the latest events, shows, and everything. And this weekend is gonna be busy at the Woodbridge Brewing Company. We call it the Hat Trick Devils Weekend. So
the Hat Trick. Oh, okay.
And then they won today, so they'll be in a good mood. Nico Hirschman will be in a good mood tomorrow.
Oh, they're only in a good mood because Speedy has a stiffy, right, Speedy?
I don't have any idea of that.
I don't know. Maybe they're watching the show right now. They're tuning in.
Maybe they're brainwashed with conspiracy theories, like our friend Tyler Owens.
All right, what's
Oh man, you are a piece of work. Niffin, thanks for calling, buddy.
Yep. Thank you. See you guys.
Niffin, the NR Hour. Check him out. He's got a great platform. He does a lot of work out there, and he has a lot of content. So check him out on all the stuff that he's doing, and go to Woodbridge and meet anybody that you want. I mean, Dennis Rodman, and like I said, Rodman will be there. Speedy will be there. You got the Stiff and the Rod, right, Speedy?
I will not be there, but maybe there's another Stiff
we're
and another
going,
Rod.
by the way. We're going.
Stiff and a Rod do not exist.
Stiff and Rod are going to be there. They're going to be shaking
No,
hands.
they're not.
I'm going to get a nice
You can
picture.
find some other alias.
I
to
might
use.
even have Dennis Rodman jump on your back, and you could give him a piggyback ride.
Not happening. Never.
That would
ever
be funny,
happening.
actually. Could you imagine carrying Dennis Rodman? That would be
Feel like
fun.
carrying a piano.
Yeah, I'd be dead.
And the
You'd
best
probably
part
catch something too.
that's true. Many different things, by the way. But you know what was the best part of this show is scaring Jeff away and scaring Snug away. I mean, that was the best part of the show. I mean, seriously, no Jeff, no Stug, no problem. All right, this is perfect. I mean, it's making me so proud. All the hard work today and all the craziness that's happened in my life today, it all worked out. And the biggest thing that worked out today was no more Jeff and no more Snug. So thank you to all the fans that tuned in to the shows this week. Thank you to Sean Smith. Thank you to Speedy Petey for being Speedy, right? Whatever. Thank you to Fish, our executive producer. Thank you to our friend and our Sports Minute producer / personality, and Tommy Scoops. By the way, thank you to all our guests this week. We've had fantastic guests, so thank you to all the guests that we've had on the show. Sean will be back on Wednesday, being the pain in the ass that he always is. So we're looking forward to that, right, Speedy?
Probably.
Right? What do you mean, probably? You don't like Sean?
No, I'd say it'll probably be a pain in the ass.
I mean, if Sean was in the studio right now, would you spank him?
No.
Why wouldn't you
I'm
spank
not
him?
messing with a 330 pound
If he
former
allowed
nose
you to
tackle.
spank
I don't care. What do you think is my incentive?
I mean, if he said, just hit me.
What is
spank me.
with you and like random violence?
It's not violence. I mean, it's potently powerful.
All right,
I mean,
you go do it. If you're
I don't
win,
think he wants me to touch him. Okay, but you, on the other hand,
you're trying to make a statement to him that you can win in your
I don't-
workout war.
No,
So
first of all,
make a statement that way.
There is no workout war with me and him. It's not even a challenge, okay? And that's something that's coming from me and telling all the fans. If we ever went into the gym, he actually thinks he could beat me in a race, by the way. Sean Smith, the 335-pound defensive lineman who hasn't probably run, and the only time he runs is for Twinkies, he is going to beat me in a race. What do you think, Speedy? You think he could beat me in a race?
I don't know. I never seen him. So.
Do you think he could beat me in a race?
I saw him a little bit as an NFL player.
Do you think he could
I
beat me
don't
in a
know.
race? Take a guess here.
I have no judgment.
You just don't want to throw him under the bus.
I have no judgment.
That's why your junk and your hung and your stiffy is all ready for him.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It never will be.
Yes, it will. And Dennis Rodman will sandwich him with you in between. You're going to be the Oreo to their cookies.
All right, Scoops, if that ever does happen, have fun producing the show because I'll be dead.
Oh, man. That would be a funny sight. Could you imagine? They do like.
I just tried to picture making a graphic of that. I'm not going to do it.
Speedy in the middle of them. That would be a funny picture. I'd love to see that, by the way. That would be funny. I got to get pictures. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that this week. I'm going to send that to you, Fish. I'm going to have a picture of Speedy in between Sean and Dennis Rodman high-fiving each other. What do you think?
That would really get you would really be stampeded on that one.
Oh, Sean's gonna love that one, by the way. He'll
Like
love that.
like Mufasa in The Lion King.
Oh, yeah.
Stampeded.
Oh yes, definitely going to be funny. By the way, Anyways, thank you to all the fans again. Keep listening to us. Tune in on Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Next week, our show will probably start 8 p.m. I'm going to an event for us in Manhattan. So I'll probably be home around 7 o'clock and be ready for 8 o'clock. So I'm taking the train in. I'm going to be spending the whole day on Wednesday and Thursday in Manhattan. So that'll be interesting. That will definitely be interesting. Anyways, tune in as always through our shows and throughout our shows. By the way, go check our YouTube channel if you haven't checked that out. Tommy's been posting and putting it out there. I mean, you guys are going to be doing the shorts. Speedy's doing a great job with the shorts, and Fish is going to learn how to do that. I mean, and by the way, for all the fans out there that have not tuned in and checked out us on all the social medias, please do. Twitter is the one we're pushing. Go to WWSRN_radio on Facebook and Twitter, and definitely follow us and check out all the videos that we post up. Also, you can check me out at Errol, ERROL MARKS 34. So check me out on Twitter. Anybody that writes to me, I do answer back. They don't usually write to me in direct message. It's usually email. So you can check me out on the email too. It's posted up there. So, again, by the way, check out me and Speedy on the Weekend Crunch this weekend at Speedy.
7 o'clock. No Islander game this week.
Oh, no Islander game. So no pregame show for
no pregame show. We'll have it for the next 4 weeks in a row after that. But
that'll be fun.
No, this week.
I know you love that, Speedy.
Not this.
The Islanders are playing good hockey.
They are.
It's unbelievable. I think Sorokin actually woke up.
Yes.
I think he's waking up. I mean, he's been, I don't know, he's been in a dream or in a nightmare, because it's been an absolute nightmare for the Islanders all season long. But he's finally getting his goals against average under 3. So that's a good sign. Anyways, again, thank you to all the fans. Listen to the Weekend Crunch at 7 p.m. If you're not here on Long Island, you can't listen to us on 103.9 FM out here with an 80-mile radius. You can check us out on iHeartRadio at 7 p.m. on Saturday night. So thank you to all the fans. We'll be back next week. Good night.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.